Last time on the Switchy YouTube channel, Switchy took a look in depth at the first season of Total Drama. He talked about the things he liked, the things he disliked, and the things he had mixed feelings about. We learned that although Total Drama could sometimes be a bit rough around the edges, there was so much about the show that truly cemented it as a classic in his eyes. Its awesome concept, hilarious writing, and lovable characters really proved victorious in the battle against time. The video performed modestly by Switchy standards at the time, netting a couple thousand views over the next several months, about what he expected. But it all changed when Switchy decided to jump in on the iceberg video trend with an in-depth take on the show that ended up going viral, netting hundreds of thousands of views. But what it also did was make his modestly performing, overly detailed Total Drama review documentary thing from the previous year a second chance at success. And the video started growing at a serious rate, and now it is one of his biggest videos ever. With newfound success in the Total Drama discussion scene and a high-energy, engaged fan base who want more content, will Switchy be able to follow up his classics with a good review of the second season of Total Drama? Or will he crack under the pressure, failing to create anything good as he slowly fades into obscurity, losing his shot at fame and forever being remembered as that mediocre YouTuber who made an iceberg video once? Find out now on the comprehensive roast of Total Drama Action! How is that?
Pretty good, actually. Except for the ending. I don't know if I like that part about me fading into obscurity or whatever.
Just being honest, bro. Fame's a never-ending uphill battle. I would know. I'm Chris McLean.
You know, honestly, I didn't actually ever expect to make this video. As fun as the Season 1 video was to make, it certainly wasn't exactly a big success, and I didn't really make a lot of returns in either views or revenue for it to be worth the hundreds of hours I put into it. It did okay, but still. But once I released the iceberg video, the YouTube algorithm stepped in and for the first time in my entire life actually worked in my favor, and started showing thousands of people my 2-hour masterpiece. It was a good feeling, especially because this has been a video format I've been doing for a long time and been putting a lot of effort into without much in return. But now, I'm getting comments left and right asking for a Total Drama Action review. Total Drama YouTubers I've never heard of are telling me they loved my video. And with the money I've made on my last roast, I can invest into my own channel. Better production values, better scripts, better everything. Come on, let's check it out. So if you look over here, you can see the revenue page for my original Total Drama video. And, what the heck? Where's the money? Copyright claim?
Looks like your video got content ID'd.
Wait, what? But...
I mean, you did use footage from the show.
Yeah, but, like, it's fair use. I can, like... So you're telling me I spent a whole summer on this giant video, longer than some feature films, and I made nothing?
Looks like it.
It's no problem. I do this all the time. I could do this for money. I don't, but I could.
You asked for it, and here it is. Welcome to the comprehensive roast of Total Drama Action. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the second season of everyone's favorite animated reality show. No, the other one. In the past couple of years, I've really begun to develop a newfound appreciation for Total Drama. I've kept up with the show since I was a kid, but I always considered it to be a bit of a guilty pleasure, but that's not quite the case anymore. I'm really starting to come to the conclusion that Total Drama Island is actually better than I used to give it credit for, and holds up really well. With its awesome concept, easy to love characters, and consistently great comedy, it really does cement itself as a 2000s classic. But Total Drama Island, as you know, wasn't the only season. In fact, there are like 8 individual shows and seasons under the Total Drama name. So, how does its movie-themed sequel stack up? Is Total Drama Action a certified blockbuster, or is it a total box office bomb? Let's find out. You like that? It's like a movie joke. It was not long after Total Drama Island officially aired that Total Drama Action started production. The first season was a huge success, and it was clear that our lovable cast had many more stories to tell. Total Drama Action moved away from the rickety old summer camp we'd come to know and kind of love, and took our campers into the city to have another shot at superstardom, this time in an abandoned film lot. They were going to fight for the money and endure almost as much abuse as real child actors in Hollywood. You know, the last video's background knowledge segment was really long, like it was pushing 8 whole minutes. Though that was because I pretty much gave a rundown on most of Total Drama from the start, which for the sake of not repeating myself, I won't do this time around.
Because if there's one thing I'm striving for in these videos, it's brevity.
But if you don't know what Total Drama is, it's an animated reality TV show that I reviewed and really like, so now I'm doing its sequel. Watch the first one. Cool. So this segment is mostly going to be dedicated to my personal relationship with the season and the series as a whole. I remember watching Total Drama Action as it premiered when I was little. It was a blast. I had only really started paying attention to Island later in the season, but Action was something I got to experience in full, and as it aired. In America, at least. But after that, I didn't rewatch the show for literal years. You see, around 2012, I had a whole newfound interest in the show and wanted to see it again. But back then, YouTube was still a platform companies were very wary of, and finding the show on it was really hard. I was able to watch seasons 1 and 3 in 3 parts, but for whatever reason, maybe because of certain copyright ownership shenanigans behind the scenes, I could not find a single episode of Total Drama Action. And that sucked. My theory has always been that for some reason Total Drama Action videos would be blocked but not Island and World Tour, but I don't actually know for sure. So for a while, Total Drama Action was a distant memory, while Island and World Tour were the only seasons of the original trilogy I could watch. At one point, I actually almost considered spending all my allowance to buy the whole second season on iTunes, but thankfully I didn't end up doing that. A couple years later, I ended up being able to find it somewhere, and it eventually was put on Netflix, but because of these difficulties, Action has always been a bit more unfamiliar to me than World Tour, the season that followed it.
Semi-related, but for the core Switchy fans, I think it might be worth talking a bit about how my opinion on the show has evolved in the last year or so.
And before you hide in fear, the last year has been kinda my opinions of Total Drama. Like, I already enjoyed it when making the last video, but honestly I consider myself an even bigger fan now. I've been doing a lot of rewatching of the show's individual seasons, even a bit of Total Drama-rama, and I think my opinions surrounding a lot of the show are more fully formed. I don't want to go one by one, but I will say that I think I was too harsh on Total Drama Revenge of the Island. I definitely clumped it in with All-Stars and Pakuto a bit more than I should have, and although I still have problems with it, it's certainly on a different level than those two. My opinion on the art style has also become more positive. I still generally have my distaste for a lot of the thick outlines and sharp edges in cartoons from the era, but I do think I didn't give the show enough credit for its visual clarity and easy character identification. So here it is now. Swell job, guys. I think in general, the Iceberg video and its success played a huge role in changing how I saw the series and its fanbase. I mean, the first roast video was made essentially in a vacuum. I had literally never watched a single Total Drama YouTube video ever, and I was pretty much completely unaware of the fact that there was a real community surrounding the show out there. So all my critique and commentary were very raw and unrefined and came from just my own personal experience, because I've had a lot of experience with this show. I was just in my little corner of the internet making stupid memes for anyone curious enough to look at them.
Got a #1 victory royale. Yeah, Fortnite, we about to get down. 10 kills on the board right now. Just wiped out Tomato Town. What? My friend just got down. I revived him, now we're heading southbound. Now we're in the Pleasant Park Street. Look at the map, go to the mark sheet.
I had been dreaming of making a huge long-form review of the series since I was 12, and part of the reason was that it seemed like there was no real high-quality discussion surrounding the show back then. I certainly couldn't find anything. The only YouTuber I knew who seemed to actually like the show was the Phoenix King. Anyway, that's enough talking about myself. For now. Because we do have a lot more to discuss today, including a 26-episode season, but before we go into the 26-episode season, we have to talk about something that came before. Total Drama Island had a pretty conclusive ending, so between the original airings of the first 2 seasons, they also made an extra 2-part special that ties the seasons together. So, we're gonna have to check that out.
Welcome back to Total Drama Island. It's been a long time since you last saw our campers slugging it out for the $100,000 grand prize.
Oof. Chris, is it just me or are you looking a bit JPEGier than usual today?
Yeah, if you're curious, this special was never remastered in HD like the first season was, so the quality is a little bit worse, even on the official Total Drama YouTube. Sorry about that. This episode's name is Total Drama 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 Island, which, yeah, kind of wears me out. So I'll probably just call it the special because saying the real title again sounds like pain. It starts out by recapping the ending of the previous season and establishing the fact that in the past seemingly few days, the campers have been chilling out a bit and now they're all together at Playa de Losers for an after party. It's actually a nice change of pace, and the first bit of the episode is mostly focused on just letting our friends just hang out and interact outside of the typical challenge setting. It also serves to provide some context on the relationships and friendships between a lot of the characters for people who are just coming in.
As soon as I get home, I'm signing up with 3 modeling agencies. One for my face, one for my body, and one for my knees.
Did he just talk?
Justin, for the first time since the first episode of the entire show, says something. Talk about a surprise. Speaking of surprises, wasn't that pool, like, way more deep last season? Whatever.
Hi, Lashana.
Hey there, sugar baby. You got game, baby. You been working out?
You noticed.
You know, I've never been able to tell how serious Lashana is when she says that to Harold. She's a pretty normal person, all things considered, so I don't know if we're supposed to think she honestly thinks Harold is muscular or whatever.
But the heated romance between the two quickly comes to an end, as Lashana lets him know that the kiss they shared last season was a very spur-of-the-moment thing, and that she didn't want to just jump into a seriously committed relationship that fast.
So can I still talk to you and stuff?
Harold, you are the funkiest, baddest, strangest white boy I have ever met.
She clearly hasn't heard of me. What follows is a bit more discussion between characters about plans for going home and future desires. Courtney is in a really bad mood, and really just wants to forget about everything. I don't blame her, given she was cheated out of her chance to win the money.
And that's why beavers shouldn't be considered members of the vermin family. Their skeletal structures are like totally different from rats. I mean, just look at their teeth. I can loan you my journal where I've made a bunch of drawings of beavers and...
The party is soon interrupted by Chris carrying a very heavy-looking briefcase, and Chef taking Owen's big model check. Chris proposes Owen and the rest of the campers a new challenge.
Inside this suitcase is $1 million.
$1 million? That's like 80 million Robux.
Owen, my man, this $1 million could be yours. All you have to do is figure out where we're about to hide it and bring it to the dock of shame before anyone else does.
Don't take it, dude. You can take home $100,000 right now and be done with it. Maybe put it in crypto or something. If you don't, you'll be put up against 21 other kids at finding $1 million. That's bad odds, dude.
Game on, baby!
Oh, you fucking idiot. Interestingly enough, there's an alternate version of this episode that includes Gwen as the winner in the opening. The English audio is actually lost, but the footage still exists. And in that version, she actually refuses to do the challenge and risk her money. But Chris doesn't let her because apparently somewhere in her contract, she can have the money taken away to compete for a larger prize against her will. So I mean, I guess no one really had a choice. Seriously though, for some reason that just boils my blood. These poor kids got totally scammed. After that, in both versions, Owen is the only one who cares enough to compete in the challenge at first, while everyone is a bit more hesitant. But their resistance to the possibility of winning so much money doesn't last, and they all quickly run off to get the money and trample each other over. What ensues is essentially all the campers splitting up into teams to make finding the million easier. Some teams are obvious like Jeff and Bridget, but some teams are a bit weirder like Izzy, Noah, and Eva. Like, I have no idea where that came from. They're like the 3 least similar characters in the entire show.
I really think the writers just put them together because they couldn't fit them anywhere else.
Ah, a guys only team! This is awesome!
Yeah! Guys rule! I've been hitting the weight since I got here, working on my fierceness.
Get over yourself.
Oh!
That was funny! You stupid guy!
Okay, I know this is dramatic, but I think that's probably my top 3 funniest individual moments of the whole show. The only character who isn't able to find anyone to work with is Heather. Even Ezekiel could find a team, but Heather really gets a taste of her own medicine and her lack of ability to have anyone work with her. Well, except Harold. It's actually interesting seeing her in this position, with her newly round bald head having essentially lost everything, still trying to do whatever she can to win. Whether you like or dislike Heather, you can't say she isn't determined. For the first couple of hours, the campers pretty much have no luck. Well, except my homie Ezekiel, but the dude literally was ignored by his teammates when he saw it. Like they just told him to shut up and he just takes it. Jeez, dude, it's $1 million. Stand up for yourself.
Oh, and then there was that time that you went into the boys' washroom by mistake and totally froze up. Oh my gosh, I'll never forget that. And I had to come in and drag you out. It was the first time I'd ever seen a urinal.
You know, I often hear people say that they wish Katie and Sadie participated in the redonkulous race. Sometimes I wonder to myself if that's really such a good idea.
Justin finds Katie and Sadie so annoying that he literally abandons them in a cave and sets off to find $1 million himself, using his good looks as a weapon. And man, after a whole season of silence, it's really nice to see him, like, doing things. And saying things too. The first 4 to finally discover the case are Owen, Tyler, Cody, and DJ. And once they get their hands on it, they're faced with a big problem. Can they trust each other? It wouldn't be that difficult for one of them to grab it and just run off. Because of this, they come up with a solution of tying each other together. Which, I mean, might have some merit, but then its major flaw is revealed when Owen says he needs to take a shit. Heather's unenthusiastic alliance with Harold turns around when he proves his worth by stealing the case and building a hang glider out of a bunch of scraps. But of course, Heather does the Heather thing and betrays him once she has an edge. Jerk. But right after that, the hang glider she steals collapses and she falls all the way down from a cliff into a beaver dam. She loses the case and gets the shit beaten out of her by a bunch of beavers. The case makes its way to Lindsay, Beth, and Zeke, but is quickly stolen by Duncan. Not really with the help of Courtney. But right after, in this series of unfortunate events, it gets swallowed by an alligator, and Courtney commands Duncan to fight the alligator for it. I'm proud of Duncan for being brave enough to fight a gator, but disappointed in him for being so easily commanded. Don't let yourself be taken advantage of, bro. He gets the case, but right after sprains his ankle, and Courtney essentially abandons him in a run for the money. I guess because carrying him would be too hard. Or not. I'm not totally sure if Courtney intended to keep the money for herself, or make the dash for the finish line for the both of them. Either way, she loses the money and gets swiped by Izzy's team.
Your girlfriend turned on you, huh? Hate to see that happen. Bet you feel like a loser about now, huh? Less of a man.
Enough of a man to take your head off, geek!
Get off me, you rabies-carrying, glorified rat!
Heather, beavers aren't rats. Are you stupid? Their skeletal structures are like totally different from rats. I mean, just look at their teeth. Courtney makes a mad dash after Izzy's team but loses sight of them and bumps into a wall with a forest mural, which brings up a lot of weird questions about Camp Wawanakwa in general. This episode also implies that Playa de Losers is on the same island as Camp Wawanakwa, but that's confusing as well because it seemed to be implied that it was on a separate island in the previous season. We then learn that Past the Wall is literally a fast food restaurant, which just makes you wonder where the hell this whole show has taken place so far. We then go back to following Izzy, Noah, and Eva.
I'm thinking of changing my name. Yeah, to Kaleidoscope. Isn't that pretty?
Not really, no.
Unfortunately, the 3 are thwarted by Justin and he tells them to give him the case. And they give it to him.
Do I think that I ride on my good looks? That I use them to my advantage? Do I think being really, really ridiculously good looking has given me the upper hand in life? Duh.
Courtney attempts to climb the wall and ends up stealing a crew balloon, which is pretty badass. Justin has the case stolen by the 4 guys, and they run until they realize they're stuck at a cliff with a bear right behind them. Owen panics and leads to the guys almost falling off the cliff.
Hey! Pull us up! Yeah! Pull us up! Help!
Personally, I don't know why they're so scared. They've jumped off of that cliff before, but whatever.
They end up falling but get caught on Courtney's balloon, and suddenly they're stuck between Courtney and a bear with no idea where to go. As the balloon makes its way toward the camp, everyone else begins to come together near the cabins as the competition reaches its conclusion.
Hey, any of you punks seen a hot air balloon go by? Courtney took it from one of our cameramen.
Courtney has a hot air balloon? Oh, she's totally gonna win.
She got the case too, on the way to the finish line. If I had to bet on anyone, I'd put my...
Through an insane comedy of errors involving a bear, a moose, a hot air balloon, and a plane, a bunch of people all end up on the same green jelly dye from last season struggling for the case. The case falls down and quickly comes into the hands of Lindsay, and then Justin, and then Izzy, until she drops it and it goes tumbling.
Jesus.
The case is then eaten by a shark. Because of this, Chris announces a 14-way tie and proposes a new way to win the money.
I didn't want to have to do this, but since none of the 14 of you officially won, you all officially tied, which means that you will all have another shot at winning the $1 million. Oh, yeah! In season 2!
Wow. It certainly is convenient how all the biggest characters from season 1 are all included in this 14-way tie. Like seriously, every single character who made it to the merge and island is here, along with Justin, Beth, and Harold. But Justin is pretty much the only one here who didn't play a major role in the first season. I'm pretty bummed though because Courtney isn't included, and she is as well. This really is a great episode though. I mean, it's kind of hard not to think of it as a highlight. Even if it wasn't that great, it still would be really memorable because of how big a change of pace it is. I think what I like most is how it really is one of the few episodes where everyone has a place to shine, including a lot of the forgotten, less used characters, and I appreciate it for that alone. But beyond that, it's just hilarious and very creatively segues to the next season. Great job, my friends. Okay, now we can get into the actual main content of the video.
Dad, I'm doing fine. You guys are on my mind.
I really like the theme song here. It's the same music as Island, but it's completely redone in the context of the new setting. There are still some repeated ideas though, like Owen being underwater and the ascension up a cliff-like structure. Hey, what the hell is Courtney doing? She's not in this season.
Man, I miss the smell of the city.
Hell yeah, Duncan. There's nothing quite like the scent of asphalt, dirt, and feces. We see the contestants this time around come out of the bus, and we get some basic exposition about what's happened since the Total Drama Island special. Which, not much actually happened, given that it was only 2 days. Well, Beth did actually get her braces off, and everyone else, including myself, is really happy for her. Especially because now her voice sounds a lot clearer. The campers are dropped off at this old film lot where they will spend the next 6 weeks.
Wait, I'm confused.
The first season takes place over 8 weeks in the summer. At least that's what the show says. If this season is supposed to take place over 6 weeks, when do these kids have school? I mean, your average high school summer break is like 2.5 months, so the term should theoretically start at some point during action. The characters also say that they spent a whole summer at Wawanakwa, so it's pretty confusing. My best guess is that this is kind of a Phineas and Ferb situation, where the whole summer thing is just a general setting for the show, but the consistency kind of breaks apart when you try and figure out how it's actually supposed to work. It's no big deal though, just go with the flow, man. Chris picks up the campers in a cart in order to give them a tour of the film studio.
This season's hottest reality show will be shot here, on an abandoned film lot.
Does this mean we're gonna be in the movies?
No. It means you're gonna be on TV, and don't interrupt me, ever.
Chris, did you really just adjust the mirror in order to focus on Lindsay? Jesus Christ. All things considered, this seems like a better place than the island in terms of quality of life. For one thing, they don't have to use a fucking toilet as the confession booth. Also, instead of getting marshmallows as their icon of safety, they get a gilded Chris, which is a giant chocolate statue.
The gilded Chris? What a narcissist. Don't get me wrong, I still want one.
Chris then gives some explanation about why the film lot was abandoned. Apparently, they were filming a huge monster film until the animatronic monster started having issues and destroying shit. It's probably not true though, given the monster is later shown to be controlled by Chef.
Since we're on a film lot, this season's challenges will be based on movie genres. Today's genre, the monster movie.
Scalies, stay back.
For your first first challenge. Everyone must get from here to the cast trailers while our state-of-the-art monster prevents your every move.
The campers all struggle to get out of the cart, committing surprisingly violent acts against each other.
This is gonna be a long season.
The monster slowly picks off the campers running away, and some of the campers are more proactive than others.
I don't think this is the kind of action Chris had in mind.
That's a funny line. Lashana and Harold are soon caught by the monster and dropped into the bounce house along with the campers who have already been caught. For some reason, you can see Gwen and Trent's silhouettes, despite the fact they haven't been caught yet, and Jeff and Bridget should be there instead. Speaking of Gwen and Trent, those two make it pretty far into the challenge. It's nice to see them working together, given that their relationship was often meddled with last season. I really do like how they interact with each other, because they're definitely the most grounded characters in the show, which is what makes them so likable. Gwen and Trent's relationship works because it isn't nearly as exaggerated or silly as ships like Izzy and Owen or Duncan and Courtney. They're two very straight man-esque characters who act as counterbalances to the more silly parts of the show. And that's why they're so great. They're normal. They act like normal people, and that's what makes them likable. Because they're not as all over the place as other characters, and that's why they're popular and everyone likes them. That makes them good. Eventually, the monster captures everyone except for Owen. Not exactly the character you'd expect to win in a race challenge, but what would usually hinder him in a challenge like this actually works in his favor, because he is too heavy for the monster to carry. I also love how this implies that he's heavier than Beth, Gwen, Trent, and DJ combined. It is a bit strange though, because last season he said he weighed 296 pounds. Owen takes all night to get to the trailers, which are right next to the bounce house. It's a bit confusing though, because earlier in the episode you see Lashana right in front of the bounce house, but she doesn't seem to see the trailers or anything. That's probably just an oversight on the part of the animators. Once the campers escape the bounce house, the monster steps on one of the trailers, which makes the next part of the challenge very important, as the winner gets to pick the trailer for their gender, and a working trailer is definitely better than a squished one. The campers make their way to the craft services tent and come across a table filled with all sorts of tasty food, which Owen immediately eats all of before Chris even gets to announce the challenge. Apparently, the challenge was not a speed eating challenge like Owen thought. The campers were in fact supposed to look through the props to find the key. Owen burps out the key anyway, meaning he won the challenge, even though he probably will die.
I choose the squashed one.
Dude, seriously?
What? It has more character.
The trailers are eventually fixed and the campers pick their bunks and go to sleep, as the first episode of Total Drama Action draws to a close. The next episode is named Alien Resurr-eggtion. It opens up with the campers at the craft tent having breakfast, and for whatever reason, the breakfast doesn't look as totally disgusting as it usually does. I'm not sure why.
Welcome to day 2 of Total Drama Action!
That's one for the thumbnail.
Today's movie genre, aliens!
Most campers don't feel very strongly about the challenge, but Duncan and Gwen get incredibly excited about it, similar to how they were really interested in last season's horror movie challenge.
I like that movie where the aliens take over the government.
Take me to your leader.
Oh, dude, you are so going down.
It was a good movie, right, Gwen?
Trent, are you okay, buddy?
Today's challenge, find an alien egg and return to home base before Mama Alien finds you.
The role of the alien is played by Chef. Poor guy. Late to get his paycheck and covered in alien goo. The campers all end up in a nondescript alien movie setting. Eventually they reach a point where they all hear a gross sticky sound, and they come out of the impression that it's the alien. Most of the campers are intimidated by the noise, but Beth gathers all her courage and faces the threat head on, only to find out that the threat is not an alien, it's just the fourth best total drama couple making out. Also, Beth, that is not an appealing angle for you. Just saying.
Oh, nice. Don't you two ever get sick of sucking face?
I'm thinking that's a no.
The campers split up pretty arbitrarily with the exception of Gwen, Duncan, Trent, and DJ, who go into the direction of the boiler room. Jeff and Bridget try to go with them, but are rejected by Duncan because they've been making out so much. Chef catches up with Owen, Harold, Heather, and E-Scope. He shoots Harold, and then Owen suddenly has the urge to go to the bathroom and asks to be eliminated himself. Yeah, all the fake food he ate the other day really kind of messed up his digestive system. Heather and E-Scope aren't as quick to give up though, and E-Scope and Chef have a hilarious fight scene where they try and impress each other with large paintball guns. Not again? Jesus Christ, Chef, how many kids have you killed?
I thought you were dead.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Chef catches up with Heather and shoots her, and her wig falls off and falls through the metal grate. So now Heather has to be bowled on camera. Poor her. Gwen and Duncan's group eventually reaches the boiler room where the eggs are, but Chef is quick to catch up. He eliminates DJ, and Gwen, Trent, and Duncan get on the run back to home base. They escape the facility, and Chris, in an effort to increase the show's tension, drops 2 paint nukes on the kids. They duck for cover, but unfortunately Duncan isn't fast enough, so only Gwen and Trent are left, but they've lost track of their eggs, and Gwen lost her necklace, but they catch sight of one remaining egg.
I'm on it! No, I'm on it!
My necklace, it's gone.
Gotcha!
Jeez, that's like the one good decision Trent has made this episode.
Personally, I would have picked the win.
But even then, he gets the best of both worlds, and finds 2 more eggs that let him and Gwen win the challenge. Gwen also gives him the necklace as a good luck charm.
I'm happy for the two. Even though Trent has been kind of dumb throughout this episode, I think he pulled out alright and stayed on Gwen's good side.
As our winners, Gwen and Trent will now be able to pick their teams, which means they'll be competing against each other this season.
I really spoke too soon.
Also, for whatever reason, 2 people are being voted off this episode. I don't really know why. Well, I do from a writing perspective, because they want the first 2 to be booted off to run the Aftermath show. Spoiler alert. The elimination ceremony starts and you see Chef in a really shiny pink dress, much to his own humiliation. It's actually not clear if Chef likes cross-dressing. He seems embarrassed by it here, but in a fan interview a few years later, Chris McLean claims that the dress thing is Chef's decision.
Maybe it's a self-hatred thing, like he intentionally embarrasses himself for the entertainment of others. If that's the case, then I can really relate.
Bridget and Jeff get kicked off, pretty much because they've been kissing all the time. Which, you know, I can understand how that would get annoying.
I know exactly who's gonna get it this week.
2 words, Bridget and Jeff.
At least they'll have each other.
The next episode, Riot On Set, unlike the first 2, is not focused on any specific film genre, and is instead about the work of crew members. Chris, of course, used this as an excuse to wake up the poor campers at like 4 a.m.
I just noticed I keep calling the contestants campers, even though they're not in a summer camp anymore. I'm gonna keep doing that.
But before the challenge, Gwen and Trent have to pick the teams. It starts out with Gwen making a decision that Chris describes in the next episode as a fundamental romantic comedy error. The first person she adds to her team is Duncan, but Trent gets really threatened and adds Lindsay to his team and flirts with her in front of Gwen.
Guys, stop. Chill out. Don't let the contest get to you.
They continue picking members and making sarcastic pot shots at each other until there's no one left, and we are left with 2 teams.
I christen your team the Screaming Gaffers. Trent, you're the Killer Grips.
Grip? I don't want to be a grip.
Please. It's not like being called a gaffer is something to brag about. It sounds like something that has rabies.
Interestingly, this is the only point in the entire show where the individual contestants pick the teams. Every other season has had the teams picked ahead of time by Chris, decided through a challenge or completely randomly. After this, Gwen and Trent's teams compete in the first leg of the challenge, and it doesn't really go well for anyone. Everyone is pissed off.
Hey, new best friends, how do you like that? You gonna cry together, you punk wannabes? Cause your team is going down.
Trent, stop. Stop it, Trent. She's your fucking girlfriend. Stop being a dick.
After a bit of nudity and slapstick, the players make it to the second half of the challenge, where they have to shoot and film a monologue starring one of their team members. Trent's team has to shoot a scene about an elderly lady reflecting on her life, and Gwen's team has to shoot a scene about an aging gangster trying to go straight. E-Scope volunteers for Trent's team and Duncan gets typecast. The team that manages to create a scene that gets Chef to cry wins. But while the gaffers are preparing, Chef pulls DJ aside and forms an illegal alliance with him, both to toughen him up and also to win the money, I guess.
When I was a young schoolgirl in Poland,
frolicking through the fields with my pet goat in the summer sun, those were my happiest days.
Did you check the envelopes before you labeled them?
I thought you checked them.
Did they really switch the scripts? How did no one on the team notice that?
Even though the lines were switched, Duncan gives off a surprisingly good performance while Izzy, even with her awesome, genuine Scottish accent that she got from being the reincarnation of her grandmother, loses focus. Chef and everyone else start to cry at Duncan's performance, and the Screaming Gaffers win the challenge.
You're gonna teach me how to be a tough guy? Tough guys cry. And did you notice how your team just won? Who was the judge, DJ? Huh? Who?
So wait, was Chef fake crying, or is he just lying to DJ to gain his trust? That's a bit confusing.
After the challenge, Gwen and Trent finally apologize for getting all nasty and aggressive to each other. Finally. E-Scope, gets voted out, presumably due to her failure to beat Duncan in the acting challenge.
By the way, I just noticed I haven't been very consistent with using her preferred name, E-Scope. But in my defense, the show isn't the most consistent with it either, so I'll just continue going back and forth.
Our following episode, Beach Blanket Bogus, takes a look at classic beach surfer films.
Ever seen one of those 1950 surfer movies where the kids get up to neato fun before the big bonfire twist-a-thon, and the bully kicks the sandcastle in the nerdy guy's face?
Can I just say that I really appreciate how Harold is the only one who knows what Chris is talking about? That's just really funny to me.
Justin, look! I brought you bacon. I brought you bacon. Tofu's good for your heart. Pig's good for his hair. Holy crap, I love his hair!
Did Beth just say crap? I didn't know you could say that on TV. That's almost as bad as Mordecai saying piss on regular show.
Trent has some problems seasoning his scrambled eggs, much to the pain of Heather and the enjoyment of Duncan.
You still gonna finish those eggs, bro? Are you nuts? Now I only have 8 pieces left.
What?
The first challenge is pretty simple. You have to stay on a surfboard in a freezing cold studio while Chris throws a bunch of weird shit at you. Also, there are sharks. Because this is total drama, there are going to be sharks.
Friendship bracelet?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Much better.
What the hell are you doing, Trent?
Yay! Go Justin! Yeah! Go! Copycat. Tanorexic. Oh! Sorry.
Jesus Christ, how did they get away with that?
Duncan wins the first half of the challenge for the Screaming Gaffers, and they get a 30-minute head start in the next bit, a sandcastle building contest. And guess what? They get to go on a field trip to an actual beach.
Yes, campers, we're actually back at your old stomping grounds, Total Drama Island. If you need to take a moment and reminisce about the great times you had here...
Well, they might not care, but I certainly like the change in setting.
Harold takes charge in the Sandcastle Challenge and is able to build up a rocking castle, even while Gwen and Duncan are out in the forest tearing apart the bus so they can stay at the island longer. Once the head start is over and the grips can begin, Trent takes total control of the process, making what he calls Casa Gwen.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. 9 turrets, 9 doors. Justin, add 1 more moat, so we have 9?
What the fuck is this whole 9 thing about, Trent? Where the hell did this come from? What is this? A fucking Spike Chunsoft game?
Now he's naming buildings after me? I think Trent might be obsessed.
9 moats, 9 flags, 9 wicked jam rooms.
At least his number 9 obsession is even worse than the me one.
Okay, but where did this come from? Trent has never had this before. Why does he suddenly have this obsession with the number 9? What is this? The Beatles' White Album?
4 letters in your name, 5 letters in Trent's. Put them together and you get...
9! He can't be doing everything 9 times just for me.
Dude always does everything 9 times.
But when has this been a thing? This has never happened on the show before. Jesus.
Both teams end up having issues that ruin their original sandcastle attempts, but Beth's quick thinking gives the grips an edge. She makes the point that it isn't a sandcastle building contest, it's a sandcastle prop building contest, and the grips end up making a wicked fake sandcastle out of paper mache. Because of this, they win the challenge. Since both teams have won a challenge, there is a tiebreaker dance competition. Trent and Lashana do the challenge for their teams, and, well, neither of them do a really good job. Lashana's moves are quite unpopular, but Trent, in order to make Gwen happy, throws the challenge. He literally fakes an injury to lose.
Dude, what are you doing?
So the grips lose, but, they don't have to vote anyone off. I don't know if I've explained this yet. In Total Drama Action, every other challenge is a reward challenge where no one gets voted off. At least most of the time. It certainly slows the pace of the season, but that definitely has its benefits. So in this episode, the gaffers won the reward, and the grips just miss out. While the gaffers are partying, Justin tries to cozy up to Beth by asking her for one of the friendship bracelets she's been handing out. Anyway, I want to say I like this episode. And, well, for the most part, I do. It's fine, with one exception. And this won't be the only time I say this. Trent is insufferable. I don't know if it's something in the water at the film lot or anything, but the left turn Trent takes in this episode is seriously terrible. Like the whole number 9 thing is introduced with the subtlety of a nuclear bomb. He has never acted like this, and it's really frustrating to watch. The next episode is called 310 to Crazytown, and it's about cowboys. It starts out with the campers trying to relax on a super hot day.
I can't be getting a cold in this heat. Achoo!
Water? You're the only girl I'd risk catching some heinous virus from.
That's, sweet, Trent. Thanks. It's probably just allergies.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sweet! Think I just scored a few extra bonus points.
No, dude. No, you didn't.
The first leg of the challenge is jumping on a gross farting horse covered in flies from like 100 feet in the air. Gwen's allergies are coming up and Trent tries to stick up for her.
Guys, Gwen really is sick. In her condition, she'd probably fall right off the platform and land on that poor horse. Oh.
What was that?
Stupid!
She then climbs up the ladder.
Break a leg, Gwen!
Jesus Christ, when did Trent get so fucking bad at talking to girls? Like seriously, these seem like things Cody would say or something. And Trent would be one of the guys looking at him saying, dude, that's not cool. After Gwen successfully lands on the horse, the campers one by one take turns trying to do the same. Anyway, the challenge results in a tie, and as a follow-up challenge, the campers have to calf rope each other. One team has to be the cowboys, and the other team has to be the cows. And they have to wear udder hats.
I have cow boobies on my head. I bet you'll look really cute in the hat, Gwen. Utterly adorable.
The challenge commences, and Trent and Gwen find each other on the battlefield. Is the word battlefield? Oh, cattlefield. Cattlefield. Trent gives up in order to try and let Gwen's team win, because of fucking course he does. In a shocking twist of events, the cattle find a bunch of rope and end up roping the cowboys. Chris lets them win the challenge for that, and this time it's an elimination challenge. After the challenge, Gwen comes up to Trent outside of the communal bathroom, and for whatever reason, it's like the exact same communal bathroom that's at Camp Wawanakwa. There are a few weird locations like that in this season. Anyway, she dumps him, and the main reason is because he was throwing challenges, along with how for seemingly no reason in the last week or so he has lost all his charisma and likable character traits and become a fucking weirdo. However, Justin overhears their conversation and brings it up to the grips. In order to convince the grips that she wasn't in on it, she tells them that they broke up. She also tells them to vote Trent off in order to prove that she wasn't willingly letting him throw challenges. Meanwhile, Owen looks at Lindsay's boobs. Seriously, I've watched this show tons of times, and it's only now that I've really realized it. I always assumed it might have been something else, but no, he's totally supposed to be looking at her tits. So yeah, Trent's team votes him off.
310 to Crazytown. Trent is now aboard.
He said it! He said it!
And I wish I could tell you it's over, but it's not over. Because the next episode takes a break from the challenges, and it is the first official Total Drama Action Aftermath show, and Trent is going to be making an appearance. Total Drama Aftermath is essentially an after show that features characters being interviewed in a talk show format. It's hosted by the first two campers to ride the limousine, Jeff and Bridget. I don't exactly know why. They never really explain how it started. I mean, based on its proximity to the film lot and the fact that there are interns who canonically worked on both the film lot and the Aftermath show, it's clearly something that's run by the same people, but, you know, I'm just going to do us both a favor and not spend several minutes trying to analyze the business model of this fictional sister television show. But I actually really love the Aftermath episodes. They add extra dimension to the show and give eliminated characters a chance to get more screen time. Like, in Total Drama Island, if a character was eliminated, they were essentially gone. You likely didn't hear from them again until the Hot Campshire episode or finale. Total Drama Action makes elimination feel much different, as the camper later appears on the Aftermath show with an extra bit of focus on them. We also get to see the characters who didn't make it on the season, including Courtney, who is objectively the best character on Total Drama. But throughout the episode, she's on her phone the whole time talking to her lawyer about suing the show. The Aftermath episodes include interviews of the couple of campers who have been eliminated in the last couple of episodes. So this episode has Jeff and Bridget interviewing Izzy and Trent. However, the focus is clearly on Trent, and Izzy is just there for comedic relief. She does a good job though.
Izzy, how did it feel to be the first one voted off the show?
I don't know, Jeff. How did it feel?
There's also the bit when it's revealed that before Chef took DJ under his wing, he tried to start an alliance with Izzy, but wasn't so lucky. It's revealed during Truth or Hammer, the segment of the show where if you lie you get attacked by a giant hammer. Somehow it knows if you're lying, but it's not really explained. After Izzy is interviewed, the episode switches focus to Trent. And man, we're 6 fucking episodes in, and I'm already so fucking tired of him. Jeff and Bridget start arguing about who was at fault in the relationship, with Jeff saying Trent was in the wrong and Bridget saying Gwen was in the wrong. Some of the peanut gallery have opinions too, splitting up into Team Gwen and Team Trent. Jesus Christ, it's been like 10 minutes and Jeff and Bridget have already broken up.
Don't worry though, they always get back together.
But Trent has not taken the breakup well, and there's a lot of support for him from the peanut gallery. And I don't fucking know why. Well, I do know why, but Trent is suddenly super normal and likable again. It's night and day compared to the last couple of episodes. Oh, also, we learned the true origin of Trent's number 9 obsession.
The number 9 thing has nothing to do with Gwen. I had this toy train my granddad gave me as a kid. Right before he died, one of the wheels fell off, so there were only 9. I was devastated. So my mom told me 9 was now my lucky number.
Oh, I am so on Team Trent.
Come on, you guys know that's bullshit. Trent just suddenly starts counting to 9 over and over out of nowhere in this obvious and bizarre way. But he's actually always been like this, even though he had never counted a 9 ever in the entire show, and he's been in like at least 15 episodes.
I guess what's so frustrating is how obviously forced this all is.
The finale of Total Drama had a super heartfelt reconciliation between Gwen and Trent, and they finally resolved their past mistakes and got together officially. Then, canonically like a week later, he just suddenly becomes this tryhard with no charisma. And for some reason he just starts randomly repeating numbers to himself like a lunatic, but it's all because of a childhood memory and is completely unrelated to his relationship with Gwen. It's such an abrupt change of character and really pisses on one of the best couples of season 1. So you might be thinking that because of all this, I'm on Team Gwen. Well, I'm not, because it's just hard to take this whole breakup seriously. It was just so poorly handled in the show and it's hard to really be mad at either character. I'm just unhappy with the show as a whole for its poor handling.
You hear that, writers? I personally dislike what you did with the TV show 12 years ago. What do you think of that?
In pretty much After Action, they effectively retire Trent as a character, which just adds insult to injury. Sorry if I'm being overly negative here, it's just that the whole Trent derailment is just like the ultimate flaw with Total Drama Action. I'm kind of worried because I've already spent so much time talking about the first 6 episodes, but it's essentially because this whole Trent thing happened so early on in the season. I guess before I move on to the next episode, I should address the theory, or I suppose the common belief a lot of people in the fandom have that Trent and Gwen were broken up because of an executive request. I don't know if this is true or not. I do know and have video evidence of Tom McGillis talking about having to break up a certain other Total Drama power couple, but he wasn't talking about Gwen and Trent. I don't know if people are misunderstanding that, or if there is a separate video or interview about network execs asking them to break the couple in question up. That being said, the breakup between the two is so poorly done that it would make a lot of sense if it didn't fit the artistic vision of the actual writers of the show. So I can certainly see it as being likely. I just don't want to spread misinformation. Anyway, the next episode is known as the Chefshank Redemption, and if you can't tell by the not so subtle name, it's a prison movie challenge. The challenge is split into a prison food eating part and an escape part. For the first part, each team has to pick a member from the opposite team to be the prisoner. The team makes the grossest food they can think of, and the first prisoner to vomit loses. The gaffers pick Lindsay because she's a very queasy person who does not work well under pressure, and the grips pick Gwen because they know she feels guilty and will throw the challenge. And man, I know prison food is bad, but like, Jesus, I think this episode is definitely pushing it. I guess every season needs a gross food challenge.
Duncan goes right for the roaches. Harold tops it off with some slimy anchovy paste, and oh, here come the horse lips.
Nice work, Beth. I knew I could count on you.
Oh, what the fuck, dude?
Most of the campers are pretty enthusiastic about making the grossest shit imaginable, with DJ as an exception. With his culinary background and big heart, he just wasn't able to let the gaffer serve something so repulsive, so he dashes their meal with mama spice to make it taste better. And right there, he essentially makes the challenge a lot easier for the opposite team.
Thanks! My dad would have killed me.
Why did she put it on?
There's fucking barf on it. Why? Why? So ironically, Lindsay barfs not because of the food the opposite team made for her, but because of the food her team made for Gwen. Which is really, really fucking gross. Like, of all the various eating challenges throughout the show's history, this is definitely the hardest for me personally to stomach. It's definitely the most graphic. The first challenge was for a reward in the elimination challenge, a golden shovel, which is a pretty good tool, if not a bit quick to break. Gwen continues trying to make her team lose, and Heather grows to become very suspicious of her. Heather is actually right in this scenario, and it's interesting seeing the gaffers look conflicted on who to believe, given Heather's much longer history of being hard to trust. You'd think that this would be an easy win for the Grips, but they got a bit too cocky having Gwen on the other side and put too much faith in Lindsay to push a cart full of all her teammates, so they seem consistently neck and neck throughout the challenge.
I'm starting to like our chances.
Oh, my claustrophobia! The walls, they're closing in. I'm like a caged animal, man. I can't take another second.
Gwen gets off pretty easy for breaking a shovel over Harold's head. Especially because, like, right after, they run into Izzy. I mean Kaleidoscope. Oh, wait, she goes by Izzy now again. Izzy has been living underground with a bunch of prairie dogs, presumably between now and the last episode where she was at the aftermath. It's not quite clear. Anyway, Izzy, despite being a former Grip, leads the gaffers to the finish line, but she comes a bit too late.
All right, killer Grips! High five! But we voted you off.
Izzy gets added back to the game on a technicality that she was never technically booted from the show. Kaleidoscope was. And I'm pretty sure this is the fastest instance in which a character in the show comes back after being eliminated. She was eliminated only 4 episodes ago. 3 if you don't count the aftermath. What is with Izzy and always coming back? Whatever. She's an awesome character. I can't complain. Anyway, Gwen gets eliminated for throwing the last challenge. And that, at least for a while, closes the book on the Gwen and Trent fiasco this season.
You ever seen that prison flick? The one with the guy in it? You know, the guy with the face? So, were you doing anything after work? We could always rent a... Or not. I was busy anyway.
The next episode is kind of weird. It opens up the night after Gwen gets eliminated, where the challenge starts off immediately. It's a bit confusing because I thought every challenge takes place a couple days after the previous one, but the show has never been the most consistent with that anyway. It's a doctor movie challenge, and the campers have to study and memorize entire med school textbooks. To help them stay up, they also get really good pizza to eat while reading. Like, usually the food at the film lot is bad, but DJ is secretly helping Chef make the pizza, and his magic touch seems to really make the difference. Also, the pizza is laced with shit that is involved in the next day's challenge, so they probably want to make it good enough for the campers to want to eat it.
This pie is rad! Who knew Chef could rock the za?
Do people actually call pizza za? I feel like that's only a thing serial killers or aliens would do. It's too weird. Anyway, while most of the campers continue to study, Lashana makes note of the fact that the next challenge is a reward challenge, and there's no real need to stay up all night when there's no chance of being kicked off the show. Duncan agrees and they ditch the challenge. I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often in the show, to be honest. Right after, Lashana brings up the idea to Duncan that they should form a secret alliance with Harold to be able to protect themselves against Heather. But given that Duncan and Harold hate each other, he was not very receptive. Lashana tries to do the same with Harold later in the episode, and he is not very enthusiastic about it either. Anyway, the challenge the following morning is just answering questions about being a doctor and trying to collect parts of a Chris statue thing in a pool of unnamed greenish-brown goo. There's electric eels too, because of course there are. But before the challenge ends, Izzy notices a sore on Owen's arm, and the campers recognize it as something from the book. Suddenly, they notice the same sore on DJ. Apparently, they both have a symptom of a fatal, highly contagious disease. This just got interesting. One by one, the campers all start showing symptoms of the same disease, including itchy lips, diarrhea, blindness, and speaking in tongues. Well, most of the campers do. The only exceptions are Duncan and Lashana, the only ones who didn't study overnight. They find a way out of the set to figure out what is actually going on, in order to try and make sense of things. And then, well, the problem just kind of solves itself. Duncan and Lashana come back and tell everyone that the sickness they have isn't actually real. The itchiness and diarrhea is because the pizza was laced with itching powder and laxatives, and the sores were just slices of pepperoni. And for the blindness and stuff, it's apparently just first-year med school syndrome, according to Izzy, where people just convince themselves they have illnesses. Wow, teenagers convincing themselves that they have made-up diseases that don't actually exist? What is this, Twitter? And just immediately, everyone is back to normal. It's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. Like, I remember watching this one and just seeing everything solve itself so fast that I had to go back like 2 minutes just to see it again to make sure there wasn't anything more complex going over my head. But no, it really is just the campers going a little crazy after staying up all night, and all it takes is someone to point it out for all their symptoms to go away.
Brilliant diagnostic skills, Duncan and Lashana. Way to suss it out.
Well, I don't know, man. You've been seeming sus lately. It's almost like we have an imposter among us.
The reward surrounding the challenge is a night out with the camper's best friend, which apparently means Duncan's best friend is his fucking parole officer. Something tells me they weren't in the mood to make any new character designs here. Lashana starts crying because the challenge was so stressful and her entire team agrees to let her get the reward. But once she gets in the car with her cousin Leshaniqua, who interestingly enough is just her old camp TV design, it's revealed she just faked cried to get the reward, which is kind of presented as a scummy move on her part, but honestly I could care less.
What do I say? I mean, LaShawna said you get used to this whole confession thing, but I'm not Catholic.
Did they just repeat the I'm not Catholic joke from the first episode of the show?
Where are the outlets? I have to plug in my straightening iron.
There are some in the communal bathrooms, just across the way.
Communal bathrooms? But I'm not Catholic.
Not communion, communal.
Weird detail. The next episode is named The Sand Witch Project, which, predictably, is horror movie themed. It starts out with the campers all eating sandwiches from the craft tent as exposition of how good Chef's food is going. But you know, and I know, that it isn't Chef, it's DJ, and he's starting to feel really guilty about cheating in the competition. But anyway, after a cinematic entrance from Chris, the cast is introduced to today's challenge of trying to replicate the features of a really great horror movie. Haven't we done this before?
Think of every great horror movie you've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Did you see that one with the possessed rug that learned to walk and smothered cats? Or did I make that up?
That's gotta be added to my collection of nonsense Izzy lines that perfectly align with my sense of humor.
Each team has to pick a member to play a serial killer in a few horror scenes who makes the other team members scream as loud as they can. The Grips have a lot of trouble picking, and this gives Lindsay an opportunity to take charge. Earlier in the episode, Heather insulted her by calling her spineless, and Lindsay began trying to become more of a leader in her team. So take the lead she does, and damn Lindsay, I'm proud of you. She nominates Beth as the Grips killer because Beth literally isn't able to scream for medical reasons. The gaffers want to pick Duncan, but suddenly Chef interferes and forces them to pick DJ as the killer, who predictably doesn't do a good job. Also, one of the scenes involves the campers having to kiss each other. Owen and Izzy are excited about it, but it's not as easy for Duncan and Heather. Something about forcing 16-year-olds to kiss for money seems a bit weird, Chris. Anyway, the gaffers win the acting challenge, despite DJ not being good at his role. It's literally just because Chef shows up and cheats, causing DJ to faint. Anyway, DJ has a dream sequence where he is visited by his mother who is angry with him for cheating. I don't know how they record his dreams, but this show has done stuff like that before. DJ wakes up and finds out that Chef is currently in a disciplinary meeting, likely for the deal he had cut with DJ. I don't really know why it's taken so long for this to happen, given that there's been tons of video evidence of them working together. It seems Chris has been aware of this all for a while too. The Aftermath guys also know about it. Anyway, the second leg of the challenge is a special effects challenge, at least for the gaffers. Their task is to find a way to convince the other team that the craft's tent is haunted in order to scare them out. The Grips have the task of staying in the supposed haunted tent the whole night, without knowledge of the gaffers' attempts to scare them out. They're given a few ghost detector things to detect paranormal activity. The gaffers start out small, but each time they try to scare the Grips, Lindsay is quick to use the detectors to draw suspicion on the threat. Though the rest of her team is pretty easy to scare, all things considered. Even after having been shown that the attempts to scare them have been fake, they still seem easily terrified, but whatever. Eventually, the gaffers successfully chase the Grips outside of the tent and win the challenge. The Grips go to the elimination ceremony, and it seems likely that Lindsay is going to get the boot. But right before Chris announces who is being eliminated, DJ interrupts and votes himself off the show, as a way to make things right after cheating. Ironically, none of the fellow campers are mad at him and don't actually want him to leave. Especially Owen. But he leaves nonetheless, and with his exit, the Grips' elimination is seemingly cancelled. You better be thankful, Lindsay. The next episode starts out with the campers trying to get used to eating Chef's cooking again. It's not very easy.
I wish my boyfriend was here. He's such a great cook.
Boyfriend? I don't remember any talk of a boyfriend.
Oh yeah, I have a boyfriend. I love my boyfriend. What? Didn't I mention my boyfriend before?
Looking for a boyfriend. I see that. Give me time, you know I'm gonna be.
Okay, I bought a lot of junk off late night infomercials, but I ain't buying that.
It seems that Beth's fellow contestants don't exactly have an easy time believing in the existence of her boyfriend. And even if she had a boyfriend, like, dude, why has she been flirting with Justin this whole season?
Like, I'm sorry, Beth. I'm telling you this because I care about you. You are not attractive enough to be playing so dirty. Just saying.
Anyway, today's episode is named Master of Disasters, and the focus is disaster movies.
Like, 2012, I guess. That's the only one I can think of.
The first leg of the challenge is a ridiculously violent obstacle course. Like, seriously violent by total drama standards. With simulated earthquakes, hail, and lava, along with Chef throwing shit like bowling balls and sinks at the cast, the campers are really pushed to their limits. Like, Jesus! You'd think that the producers would be concerned about the possibility of seriously injuring the competitors. I mean, Justin is already getting worried about his future in modeling with the abuse he's taking.
My unpublished manifesto. I've lived a lot of years.
Ouchie! That'll hurt come morning.
Whoa! What the hell? Was that an instance of cartoon violence with visible consequences?
Jesus Christ, look at his fucking teeth! That's really, really not nice to look at.
It looks like Owen won the challenge for the killer grip.
Oh, no he didn't!
Yeah, we got our whole team across the finish line.
Serious injury trumps all.
You just make up the rules as you go along, don't you?
The next challenge is for the reward, and it's escaping a dark flooding submarine, I think. I don't exactly know what that really has to do with disasters. Also, and this is just a minor complaint, but in the episode the campers talk about the submarines as if they're pitch black, but for the viewer it's really easy to see the inside. It's a bit inconsistent. I'm not saying they should have totally made the entire scene black, but I think they should have brought down the brightness a bit more. It's actually kind of a stupid challenge. The only safe way out is a combination lock thing at the bottom of the submarine. So realistically, the challenge would be finished as soon as it starts, and the winners would be the team who were given the combination as a hint for winning the last challenge. But because Justin and Lindsay are stupid as hell, they lose the combination, and essentially because of that, the two teams are stranded and doomed to drown. Chris actually starts getting really nervous, and starts nagging an uninterested Chef to turn off the water. He tries, but quote-unquote accidentally breaks the lever. Chris actually starts to panic, which is kind of nice to see from him.
This could be it! The end! Like, the end! And I want to live!
I know you're scared, but you don't have to cry. I'll save you.
Who said anything about crying? Lashana never cries!
You sure blubbered enough when a reward was on the line. You're a total sham.
You mean Lashana fake cried to get the reward with Lashaniqua?
You know, Heather, you're right, but that's a suspiciously far jump to conclusions, especially because she was literally just tearing up.
Anyway, Harold, with his mad skills, is actually able to turn fate around and save the entire cast's lives. And I'm not even using the mad skills term ironically. Like, what he did was super badass.
I haven't really brought him up so far, but Harold's really funny in this season. Probably one of the best characters here.
Anyway, the gaffers are offered an 8-day hike and stay at a lodge by a volcano as the reward, but they decline the offer, and instead are given some chips and soda. Well, they call it pop because they're Canadian. Not really worth risking their own lives for, in my opinion.
Okay, here's the deal. You can go and eat with the gaffers if you promise not to sue. Promise!
That probably wouldn't hold up in court.
The next episode is called Full Metal Drama, so I can only assume that this one is focused on alchemy movies or something. The episode starts off with Lashana trying to get back on her team's good side for fake crying like 4 episodes ago. I still don't get that. She really did have plausible deniability. She offers the one working toilet to Duncan or Harold, but isn't aware that it's already been taken by Owen, who is dealing with serious constipation.
I'm pretty sure this is like the second time this season that Owen's had digestive issues.
Chef brings him a bran shake or something to help with his constipation, but he denies it, and Lashana offers to drink it instead.
Why?
Anyway, today's episode focuses on the Art of the War movie, so the title Full Metal Drama was actually referencing some Stanley Kubrick movie and not the anime I thought it was. Shame. The first challenge is jumping out of a plane, and the campers are very afraid.
Ooh, who's gonna tell them about next season?
If we live, I was thinking I should totally be our team's admiral. Admirals are in charge of sailors. Generals are in charge of soldiers generally. But admiral sounds cuter, so now I'd like to be called Admiral Lindsay, Her Hotness, okay?
Yes, Admiral Lindsay, girl boss, Her Hotness, sir.
Justin tries to manipulate Beth and Lindsay into breaking his fall when they jump off the plane, but they say no. In fact, for whatever reason, they just seem to have lost all attraction to him. Damn, I guess those golf balls last episode really did fuck him up. Anyway, it turns out they weren't actually on a plane and were just on a set. The second part of the challenge, or is it the first? No one really won or lost the plane jump. Anyway, the first/second part of the challenge is a competition of blowing up a bunch of paint bombs in an efficient, creative way. Duncan and Harold fight for control over their team in the challenge. The rest of the team ends up cheering for Duncan because, according to Heather, Vandal Boy beats Big Chem Nerd. The Grips end up lollygagging the entire time, and only end up getting anything done because Izzy's new alter ego, Explosivo, did all the work needed.
Izzy, what did you do? I didn't do it, Big O. It was my friend, Explosivo. Explosivo is logo for boom boom.
Explosivo, huh? Sounds like my digestive system after having Mexican food.
The Gaffers still win the challenge because their paint explosion was a lot more controlled and artistic, while Explosivo just, made a boom boom. Anyway, after a break, we return to Chef making Owen another brand smoothie that he once again declines. And again, Lashana drinks it instead.
I don't even see the point in being subtle about where this is going. It's just leading to a poo-poo fart joke.
Anyway, the challenge for invincibility is a game of capture the flag. The Gaffers have to defend the intelligence, while the Grips have to try and steal it. The intelligence is a giant box called the Big Trunk of Mind-Blowing Secrets. The Gaffers dig up a World War I themed trench to hide it, while the Grips strategize. I don't know why there are so many World War I references in this episode when the set seems so Vietnam-inspired. It's kind of weird. Admiral Girl Boss Lindsay tries to take control of her team's effort to attack, but they seem pretty low on motivation.
Now listen, peeps. I know you're frightened of going into battle, but I'm here to say, be strong, be fierce, be ferocious. Go and fight for that trunk like it's Boxing Day and you're fighting for the cutest pair of yoga pants. Show no mercy!
The trench the Gaffers built actually works well as a hiding spot, but the confined space soon brings up some new challenges.
Floating up like a pufferfish. And when it blows...
Lashana, you are not farting in here.
But there's an air baby in there and it wants to be born.
Hush, little baby, don't you cry. If you do, we'll surely die.
The Grips are soon caught by one of Duncan's booby traps and sent back to spawn. Justin gets a scratch and starts being really whiny, but Lindsay and Beth don't give him any sympathy.
Izzy, you're sort of female, right? Can you help? I mean, I had Beth and Lindsay wrapped around my finger, and now I'm getting zero play. What's the deal?
Honestly, I never really got it. I don't think you're so cute.
Like I care what you think.
That's a lie, Izzy. You gave him $1 million case. Come on.
Anyway, the Grips prepare to attack again. With low morale due to Lashana's fart stinking up the whole base, Duncan and Harold, in a last-ditch effort to win the challenge, weaponize Lashana's farts against the other team. And it works, so the Gaffers win this episode's challenge. Surprisingly, the Grips are more receptive to Lindsay's girl boss personality than you might think, even when she was napping at home base while they were all participating in the challenge. Izzy gets voted off for her whole Explosivo bit. God, she just comes and goes, doesn't she? The next episode is the second Aftermath special, and once again, it's being hosted by Bridget and Jeff.
I actually really like how the two got their own little thing going in the Aftermath. The couple definitely was a bit left in the shadows by Duncan and Courtney and Gwen and Trent, so it's nice that they have this little thing to themselves.
In today's Aftermath, DJ and Gwen are being interviewed because they were eliminated in the previous 5 episodes. Izzy was as well, but she was already interviewed once, so she isn't going up again. DJ goes up first, despite being eliminated after Gwen. I think it's just because there's less juicy drama surrounding him. Well, at least that's what you think, but Jeff has other plans. He starts seriously antagonizing DJ for his alliance with Chef, even using out-of-context footage to make him seem like a dishonest jerk.
Do I like winning? Heck yeah! I'm gonna do whatever it takes to keep racking up the wins.
Do I feel bad? Do I look like I feel bad? Do I have to, Chef? Okay. Do I like winning? Hex yeah. Chef, do I actually have to say hex? Because I don't...
Jesus, when did Jeff become such an asshole? Was he ever like this?
I don't want to go too in-depth about Jeff in this season. That's what my tier list video is for, but man, this really is a weird shift for him. Like in season 1, he was super chill, but now he's a really high-strung drama queen who's willing to hurt his friends for status. Though it's not as overtly obnoxious and frustrating as Trent, and I think if nothing else gives Jeff a bit more depth that he really didn't have earlier on. It's a weakness to his character that wasn't really clear in the first season. I guess the reason I'm talking about this is that I was rewatching The Redonkulous Race recently, and I was a bit stunned at how much Jeff had gone back to his super chill, nice TDI persona. Like, it's hard to believe that it's the same Jeff that tried to get his friend hit over the head with an anvil for ratings on TV. Anyway, after DJ is interviewed, the next guest, Gwen, comes on. And holy shit, it appears she has gone from one of the most popular contestants to one of the most hated, being heckled by audience members several times.
So Gwen, let's talk about why you sold out, such a sweet guy.
Can't we talk about something else?
Would love to. Truth is, I'm kind of over this Trent blah 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 after last episode.
Me too, Jeff. Me too.
And man, I don't even know if it's worth giving you the synopsis on this. Gwen is being hounded for dumping Trent. Blah blah blah. It's just hard for me to really take the drama seriously. I've said that 100 times. I'm still in my little fantasy world where Gwen and Trent figured everything out at the end of the first season and stayed together forever. No season 2, no season 3, nothing. Jeff also tries to stir up conflict by pushing the whole Gwen and Duncan have a thing for each other narrative, which gets Courtney really mad.
But seriously though, Gwen and Duncan, like that'll ever happen.
Things get even more uncomfortable when Jeff tries to get Gwen to go in a piranha chair torture thing as he continues to hound her.
Okay, enough! Look, I threw the game, not Gwen. Wasn't her fault.
Whoa, what's that? Trent is well-spoken and charismatic again. That's so weird. I wonder why that is.
You wouldn't believe the fan mail this dude's getting. Getting dumped on TV puts you in good with the ladies, bro.
We've got one more viewer on webcam. Kelsey from Kamloops has a few words for Trent. Hey everybody, this is my boyfriend, Trent. Wow, did she just kiss the doll 9 times?
I don't have a comment for that. It's just funny as hell.
The episode closes out with Izzy doing Izzy things. It's hard to describe as it doesn't really go anywhere, but I do want to give special props to the Izzy standee bit. I found that really funny. You can actually see it being hinted at earlier in the episode because she doesn't move or blink or anything.
Well, if there's anything I've learned from this, it's to be straight up. As long as you're up front, nothing can bite you in the butt.
Yeah, nothing except for forced character developments and sloppy writing. Am I right, guys? Am I right? God, I am so fucking tired of this. I really need to pick me up. Something that'll get me excited about total drama action again. Because Gwen and Trent have fucking drained me. Yes! Yes! Yes!
The next episode introduces Courtney to the cast, though it doesn't happen until about halfway through. It starts off with the Grips bantering and the gaffers being really mad at each other, especially Lashana. Still, for some reason. I don't really know why. It's a bit forced. Also, Owen's jaw was unwired, apparently.
That was a really fast 6 weeks.
Anyway, the episode's name is Ocean's 8, or 9, and if you can't tell, that means it's a heist movie theme. So the first thing the producers do is kidnap a member from each team and lock them in a bank vault. The teams have to rescue their teammates and acquire bank heist gear to use in a robbery challenge. Apparently.
The obvious way to do this is to think of combinations Chris would have come up with. What is his favorite thing in the whole world?
Chris.
Exactly. His birthday. Okay then. His measurements. The barcode number on his favorite hair gel?
I actually don't know how the teams are supposed to win this, to be honest. They're not given any hints or anything, so they just have to find the 1 in 1 million combinations that actually works. Neither of the teams ends up opening the vault. The Grips use the smell of Beth's chicken-flavored cologne to unleash the power of Owen's hunger in a cute, Incredible Hulk reference, and he busts down the door. but I guess he got so hungry in the vault that he started losing his mind and having hallucinations where everyone around him was food. The gaffers just decide to ditch Lashana and make the prop bank robbing equipment themselves, using Duncan's criminal expertise. Which, man, that's cold. They actually make it first to the bank, because the Grips have been trying to calm Owen down as he is tripping out on chicken cologne. It's a bit of a silly bit, but it's fun. And hey man, given that this show reuses assets as much as Viper reuses beats, it's nice to see some new visuals and entities for once.
Afternoon, ma'am. That's a great set of legs you got there. But right now, I'd like to focus on those lovely hands of yours. I need them to start filling this pillowcase with cash.
Anything else I can do for you today? Duncan?
Yeah, boy! After a lengthy legal battle with the Total Drama producers, Courtney is back. Hell fucking yeah! Chris is forced to read an announcement that was clearly drafted by Courtney's lawyers about a return to the game.
She got booted out fair and square.
No she didn't, bitch.
Sorry, Heather, but myself and the law firm of Fleckman, Cohen, and Strauss would beg to differ. We filed a wrongful dismissal lawsuit against the producers, and won.
Yeah, you tell her, Courtney. Give her the old Fleckman, Cohen, and Strauss. Anyway, the gaffers win the first leg of the challenge, and somewhat unfortunately, Courtney joins the Grips, the team Duncan isn't on, which kind of sucks, but it makes sense given the role Courtney and Duncan play as back and forth adversaries for the rest of the season. I guess I just generally prefer the dynamic as teammates with friction in the first season. The second half of the challenge is building a shitty go-kart and racing it. Oh, by the way, Lashana is still in the bank vault freaking out. The gaffers build the cart pretty quickly and race off while the Grips are left in the dust. Courtney makes the decision to just carry the cart the whole way because they were so behind with Owen's weird hallucinations and everything. The race scenes have some really good slapstick and physical comedy, I have to say.
Faster, you deadbeats! The teams aren't called the gaffers and the slackers! Now move! Mush, mush! Mush? We're not sled dogs! Of course you aren't, because if you were, this one would have eaten you!
She really never gets boring. I'm not even sure if she's referring to herself or Owen, to be honest. Anyway, even with the bullshit power-ups, the gaffers just barely win the challenge and immunity for the episode, even without Lashana.
The time has come.
Now tell me that is not the Gilded Chris theme!
As part of her settlement with the producers, Courtney is granted immunity in this episode's vote, which Chris does not seem very happy about.
Why do I have 4 votes to boot out Courtney when I specifically said you couldn't?
I guess we couldn't help ourselves.
No matter what, my finger would only press the Courtney button.
I suppose her teammates just aren't very enthralled by her lovable personality. Well, lovable for me. Maybe not for them. Anyway, their rebelliousness ends up hurting them in the long run, because all of their votes are disqualified and the only one remaining is Courtney's vote for Owen. Which sucks, because Owen is freaking epic. But he gets a speech to be sent off with.
This has been the role of a lifetime. Thanks to Justin, who inspired me every day with his physical perfection and hot dogginess. To Lindsay, who is also beautiful, in a soda poppy kind of way. To Beth, who motivated me with her delicious crispy skin and her tender juicy goodness.
If nothing else, it was from the heart. Anyway, yeah, this episode is fantastic. Just hilarious the whole way through. I guess my only real complaint is just a nitpick, and it has to do with the fact that the first part of the challenge was effectively impossible. There weren't any hints or anything, they were just left in the dirt expected to figure out a 6-digit combination. Although it did lead to some funny circumstances, I do think the episode would have benefited from the campers at least being given a hint, even if they don't end up using it. Whatever, not a big deal. The next episode, 1 Million Bucks BC, obviously named as a nod to the film 1 Million Years BC, focuses on caveman movies, which, I mean, is a bit of a weird topic. I'd imagine it was chosen more for the comedic potential it had than anything else. The girls are pissed off about Courtney's legal maneuvering into the game, but some are more frustrated than others. Lindsay feels like her role as leader in the Grips has been taken away, and she's frustrated about that. But Heather is a bit more excited about Courtney's reappearance. She starts hatching a plan to cut off Courtney's hair and making it into a wig for herself, because according to her, Courtney is the only other girl with hair that would look good on her. Before the campers begin the challenge, Chris has to disclose a few of the, alternative rules that Courtney will be playing under in the game.
Rule 1. Notwithstanding that contestants are not permitted contact with the outside world, the contestants hereafter referred to as Courtney may retain a personal digital assistant, aka her PDA.
What? That's so not fair! I'm the one with the boyfriend!
Yeah, but were you unfairly booted from the show due to a manipulated voting process? No, you weren't.
Rule 2. Whereas contestants shall continue to receive allocated meals provided by Chef Hatchet, Courtney shall be entitled to a gourmet dining experience with parties consisting of producers and myself as applicable. I hope you like lobster.
No way!
Yeah, you go, girl, Courtney. Hell yeah.
Those are the new rules. Let's call them Courtney's rules, in honor of Courtney, who gets special treatment and an unfair advantage.
Jokes aside, I love the dynamic between Chris, Courtney, and the competitors this creates, especially because of Chris's way of intentionally angering the other campers to turn them against Courtney. It's good TV. Anyway, the campers have to wear, minimalist clothing.
Here are your costumes. Get into character, people.
You've got to be kidding.
I never kid. Actually, I do, but never about something this funny.
The first leg of the challenge is looking for firewood to use in making a fire with just flint. Though in the process, the campers get chased around a bit by some prehistoric beaver things.
Those killer beavers are animatronic, right?
Animatronic? Of course.
Anyway, although I wish it could be that Courtney and Duncan were still together, that appears to not be the case. I don't know what happened since the special that made it seem that they weren't dating anymore, but who knows. It seems that they aren't really formally dating or anything anymore, which sucks. And Courtney is really mad at Duncan for his good friendship with Gwen, which some people think was a mutual crush.
I watched the show. I know what I saw between Duncan and Gwen. Nothing gets past me.
I got some! Courtney's hair. Soon it will be mine. All mine.
But I'm not crazy. I'm just bald.
Anyway, Duncan and Courtney both struggle at starting the fire, until Duncan uses a lighter he snuck in to skip the whole flint process. And as someone who has experiences setting campfires the old-fashioned way, I definitely understand why he took that liberty. Though in the long run, he ends up losing his team the first half of the challenge once he's found out. Turns out, unlike the challenge in episode 8 of the first season, lighters are not allowed. The second challenge is essentially a sword fight with bones. Would that be a bone fight? I don't know. It's also on 2 giant columns above a pit of tar. The first person to knock the other one over wins. It's a pretty fun sequence, especially when Beth wrecks Heather. I'm happy for her.
Uh-oh! Looks like Lindsay's blood-curdling screams have attracted a swarm of prehistoric pterodactyls.
Cool special effects, man. High five.
Oh, totally special effects.
What kind of fucking film lot is this?
During Justin and Harold's fight, the prehistoric beavers show up and destroy one of the pillars. Because of this, the final matches Duncan and Courtney on the same column.
You just can't write this stuff.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Chris.
Quit trying to make out with me.
All you're going to kiss is the end of my bone!
Oh, yeah, now that's the stuff.
God, I love this fucking show so much. So much.
Anyway, Courtney seals the Grip's victory, and as a reward, they get a huge barbecue to eat. Except Chef accidentally lets it fall back into the tar pit. So, no one really comes out of this episode any better off. Except for me, of course, because this episode is hilarious. So many iconic moments, even past the Dunkany stuff. Probably one of my favorites of the season. The next episode is about sports movies. There's a few warm-up challenges to get things going, but the challenge that actually matters is the 4 one-on-one competitions between campers from each team based on their calculated athletic ability. Apparently. But I don't know if that's actually the case. Some of the results here are a bit sketchy. Though if they have to fudge things to get Duncan wrestling Courtney, I endorse it. We start out with a boxing match with marshmallows between Lindsay and Harold. Also, they have to fight in slow motion, because that's common in boxing movies. Harold ends up playing the part really seriously, while Lindsay kind of loafs around and takes a bite out of the marshmallow. While the match is taking place, Courtney's PDA falls out of her pocket and Beth takes a look and comes across something really interesting on the Total Drama website. We'll get to that later. Anyway, Lindsay knocks Harold out and Harold wins the challenge.
Huh? Well, he knocked him out!
He scored a bunch of extra points for doing such great slow motion, and I had to dock you for biting. Very unsportsmanlike, Ms. Tyson.
The next sports movie challenge takes place at a badminton set. Justin says a sports movie about badminton would be lame, and then Chris talks about how he was once in a badminton movie and recreates a scene he did in the film. It's mostly just for laughs, and the only reason I'm telling you this is because there's a weird callback to it later on in the season I want to talk about. Anyway, Beth and Heather go head to head in a game of badminton, and Heather has a clear advantage.
Your chances of winning are just about as real as your boyfriend.
Oh shit, that's cold, Lashana. Anyway, even though Lashana fucking owned Beth ends up winning the challenge because she ended up giving it her all after being taunted by the other team. Good for her. That's what sports movies are about. Lashana tries talking shit again, and that really sets Beth off.
You might have game, girl, but you still don't have a boyfriend.
Yay! You just resent me for being a champion baton twirler. Just like you resent everybody here.
Excuse me?
Why don't you admit it? Or should we have Courtney play what you said about all of us on her PDA?
This is interesting. The campers gather around Courtney to see what shit Lashana was talking.
Ooh, Heather. Just mean for the sake of being mean. Lindsay has half a brain cell, max. Beth actually wears a side ponytail. A side pony. And Harold, darn bull sweet on me. But he's getting about as much play as an old school cassette tape in a world of MP3s.
Coincidentally, she only seemed to spend time talking shit about the campers who would make it to the show 7 episodes later. That's a nitpick, but I just had to point it out. Also, she's on the wrong side of the car. Anyway, this gives the other campers a relatively decent reason to resent her. It certainly feels more believable than the resentment over her lying to have the spa day, which felt a bit forced. And pretty much everyone hates her now. Surprisingly, her longtime mortal enemy, Heather, sticks up for her, which is a refreshing change of pace, actually.
Lashana just told it like it is. I don't see what the big deal is. I do it all the time.
She called you mean and nasty.
I can live with that.
You can? Thanks, girl.
So the next challenge is a wrestling match between Duncan and Courtney. Hell yeah! They also have to compete in a ball pit, which, okay, I guess. I'm sure nothing seriously gross will happen.
What's the matter, big boy? Can't swim?
Oh! Shark!
Ooh, the big bad diaper shark. Come on, tough man.
No, god damn it, no.
Well, what's under here anyway? A daycare center?
Mama!
What the fuck, dude? Anyway, Courtney kicks Duncan's ass because of fucking course she does. It's a children's TV show. We've gone over this. But Jesus, that fucking diaper scene. Ugh, so gross. The final bit is a slam dunk competition, which is dope. I love these in Club Penguin, so I know all about them. Though admittedly, it doesn't really last that long. Like the whole scene might be under a minute. Lashana wins, though, and makes Justin look like a tool. The tiebreaker match for immunity is decided by a cheerleading routine, which according to Chris, should be made to admire someone who deserves it.
Ooh, I got it. Let's cheer for Norbert Swinlow.
Who?
The inventor of the pom-pom? Duh.
Yeah, Heather. Idiot.
Time! Gaffers up!
Well, Chris, we,
Courtney, she's my pal. She loves her PDA and she's an organized gal. Lindsay and Justin might be dumb, but I'd be so proud if they call me their chum. Heather, queen of mean. She's got a nice gal for a grooving teen. And Harold's the best, he's quite a guy. He's goofy and scrawny, but he's got my eye.
Nothing for me, Lashana? Nothing? The reception to Lashana's upbeat appreciation routine was actually kind of positive, but it wasn't any match for what the Grips thought of.
Chris, 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 Chris. Chris, 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 Chris. Chris, 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 Chris. Chris, Chris, Chris. Chris.
Despite Lashana's trash talking, she doesn't actually get voted out. Duncan and Harold were actually touched by Lashana's attempt at getting their friendship back, and instead voted for Heather, who certainly has been unlikable for a much longer period of time. Really? I'm surprised she's made it this far. But hey, at the very least, both Heather and Lashana seem to have found an unlikely friendship through their mutual struggles.
Heather, if it's worth anything, you can count me as a friend. Just don't tell anyone I said so. And if this ends up on the TDA website, I'll pretend it was all CGI.
Hey, something to remember me by, and to wear next time your hair looks as bad as it does today.
Or not. I guess not. The next episode is based on spy movies, and it starts out with Chris essentially kidnapping all the campers and waking them up in an underground cave set to start out. There are a lot of James Bond references here. It warmed my heart to see Courtney immediately try to check on Duncan when he was tranquilized, by the way.
Welcome to the Cloak and Dagger world of spy movies, man and woman. Dude, what's with the bad Jamaican accent?
Jamaican? More like Japanese.
No, Swedish. French.
Kinda sounds Italian to me.
It's pretty clearly Jamaican.
Also, the campers are being merged. Took long enough, to be honest.
Breaking us up? After all we've been through?
Life begins after school. That's when we bend all the rules. In a place where we belong. I'm 16, starting to find my way. Got a new job, gonna start at the mall today.
That's a classic bit. Highlight of the season right there. The group discovers an elevator to exit the cave with and arrives in a room with the task of maneuvering a deadly security system to steal some mysterious item at the center. That does not look easy. Lashana, Harold, and Duncan help each other out, and Lashana brings up the idea of the three allying together once again. And although there is some resistance, Duncan and Harold end up agreeing. Courtney does some seriously impressive parkour and gets to the reward. She smashes the glass and opens the bag, and finds a grappling hook and some wire cutters. Because, well, they're gonna have to get out of that building as soon as possible.
The room blows in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
I'll miss your smile. No, I'll miss your smile.
We'll all miss your smile, hot stuff.
I'm too knowledgeable to die. 3, 2, 1. Suckers!
That was way more than 10 seconds.
Oh, come on.
For the record, what I gave Duncan would properly be classified as a pity hug. He was clearly scared out of his mind. Probably would have died of fright if I hadn't wrapped my arms around him. His little heart was beating so fast, so... No, pity hug. Pity hug.
Anyway, although the first countdown was a hoax, Chris starts up a second one right after, and everyone begins to panic. Courtney is the only one who has tools to escape the building and originally intended to go on her own, but the others convince her to let them come with her. They escape the building, and surprise, surprise, it wasn't even going to blow up in the first place.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
But the next part of the challenge does deal with real bombs. Though they're not like fire bombs, I guess. They're just stink bombs, and the campers have to find a way to defuse them. But no, it doesn't go well. Lindsay decides to try cutting the blue wire, and it works. So every other player cuts it as well, and for a second it almost seems like they're all safe. But no, Chris and the crew wired all the bombs differently, so everyone's bomb goes off except for Lindsay's, and they all need to take a de-stinking tomato soup bath to get the smell out. So Courtney and Lindsay both win the reward, which is a tour of a local cheese factory. Kind of underwhelming, to be honest. As the cast slowly thins, Justin becomes aware of an important fact surrounding the competition. There are 4 girls left, and only 3 guys, and that presents a serious danger to the men.
Haven't we been here before?
Anyway, the men start considering an alliance to even out the gender ratio in the competition.
If we don't boot one of them, it'll be one of us next.
I hear you. Chicks are cutthroat. The views of the contestants of Total Drama Action do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network or parent company. They may, but not necessarily.
I just hope there are no traitors pussies like Jeff around this time putting the hose before the bros. Today's challenge is based on the superhero flick, and it's certainly a bit dated given how much the superhero genre has changed in the last 10 years. It's got more of a comic book vibe than a modern blockbuster vibe, I suppose. More Raimi and less Feige. The campers have to make their own superhero identity, including a costume and a superpower. But for our benefit, the show cuts up that process into a Batmobile-inspired montage of Chef in his supervillain costume fucking with everyone while they work on their suits. Eventually, they all get on the runway to show off their outfits. Beth wears a bunch of sliced wood and says her power is talking to plants. Chris is unimpressed. Justin literally just rips off Beth's costume and throws wood chips at Chris. Not a good start. But fortunately, we then get Harold, a seasoned comic book nerd who debuts the great Captain Alberta.
A leaf! A fucking leaf!
Captain Alberta's superpower is farting. Really?
My superhero is Missouri Man, and I can piss and shit my pants at the same time.
I'm the all-seeing eye, and I've got psychic powers. I can see into the future.
Yeah, right.
Harold is about to experience a painful life lesson.
Ow!
Our best female character, Courtney, is the first one to actually come up with a good costume and interesting superpower that actually works. Good job, Courtney! Lashana has a pretty straightforward water gimmick. Lindsay is the last one to go up.
I'm Wonder Woman! Wonder Woman already exists, and she doesn't even look like that.
Not so fast. I'm liking the costume. What's your superpower?
Duh! I wonder a lot. Oh, and I have an invisible jet right here. Or did I leave it over there?
You win! I loved Wonder Woman as a kid. 10 points!
You may have won the first round, but we'll see who comes out on top. Courtney just stepped on my invisible jet!
Courtney, -2 points for stepping on Lindsay's jet.
God, I love this show. Anyway, the second bit of the challenge is an obstacle course where the campers have to do a bunch of superhero-y deeds, like saving endangered ladies and walking on power lines. Harold puts in a good effort, even using his fart powers to get further, but he wasn't quite as fast as Courtney, the human cricket, so Courtney wins invincibility.
You're gonna have to get used to that.
Both the guys and the girls begin to conspire on whom to vote off next. Lashana, Beth, and Lindsay plan to vote for Duncan, while Duncan, Harold, and Justin debate voting off Lashana. Harold gets really mad at Duncan for suggesting Lashana and isn't really receptive to the idea. Duncan ends up asking Courtney for help convincing Harold. So Harold is visited by both Beth and Courtney asking him to vote for Duncan and Lashana respectively, and it's all up to him. And he votes for Lashana, but immediately regrets it. So there she goes. I guess her shit talking really was her downfall. The next episode is the third Aftermath special, and it's pretty similar to the last one, especially with Jeff and Bridget's fighting throughout. But we get to interview the campers eliminated in the last 5 episodes. That means we get to see Heather, Lashana, and even Owen.
Hi, Izzy. Hi, Bridget. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Super Nintendo Chalmers.
Instead of a hammer or an anvil or piranhas, the guests on the show have to sit on an electric fucking chair. Hardcore. Surprisingly, all 3 of them agree to do it. Owen kind of loses it though and starts babbling about all the bad things he's done since he was little. I liked how they showed him at a Catholic school with nuns as a child, but I didn't like how it is revealed that he has 2 younger brothers, which runs directly in contradiction with a previous line of the show saying that he was the youngest of 3 brothers. Seriously, that bothers me a lot. Jeff really tries to stir up Owen's emotions by bringing up his injured jaw and elimination due to Courtney's legal maneuvering, but Owen really doesn't mind that much. I guess he's just a mellow guy. Owen finds out his family is in debt after his mom buys a giant cheese seller too, and he's fine with it. In fact, he's really excited to go home and eat some cheese. Heather is also pretty willing to get in the chair, but she doesn't do as well.
So, Heather, before you were voted off, Courtney was brought back. You think she's a worthy competitor?
No.
Awesome! You think Lindsay's as dumb as she looks?
Yes.
This is too easy. Do you think Beth could be a threat?
Beth? Absolutely not.
I know this is a comedic scene, but I do like the insight you get into Heather's character here. It kind of implies a feeling of inferiority and self-consciousness that she combats with a constantly rough exterior. She legitimately thinks people like Beth and Lindsay have merit, but she just cannot get herself to directly admit it to others.
I really like Heather.
Lashana takes the seat next, and she certainly isn't as outwardly dishonest as her newfound friend Heather. She admits to her mistakes throughout the season and all in all handles things really maturely. It's actually kind of nice to see.
A lot of people seem to really dislike how Lashana was portrayed in this season, but honestly, I don't know if I agree. I think she was written pretty well, to be honest. Her mistakes were certainly mistakes, but I feel like they were reasonable mistakes for her to make. Unlike someone else.
She also admits finally that she really does have feelings for Harold, but she doesn't want to pursue a real relationship with him. She would rather just stay friends. But hey man, there's a chance, remember that. Anyway, Jeff's outward douchebaggery really gets on everyone's nerves, so they all team up to force him on the chair to give him a taste of his own medicine. And after a bit of resistance with a lot of volts, he ends up admitting that he doesn't like being a jerk and just does it for the ratings and the approval of the higher-ups. He admits that he still cares about Bridget and the others, and the two thankfully get a happy ending. We could really use more of those. Episode 19 is, spoiler alert, a banger. It starts out with some banter between our final 6 to set the mood, and focus is quickly moved to Justin, who is starting to rethink his whole strategy after Beth and Lindsay have lost all attraction to him. He decides to look towards Courtney as a mentor on how to, use his brain and stuff.
I mean, it's a good choice.
Today's challenge is the fairy tale film, and the first order of business is seeing who will play the role of princess in the challenge. The two options are Courtney and Lindsay, because apparently they were the ones who won last time. Last time as in the superhero episode, not the spy one, where they also both won. They determined this by trying to fit their right foot into a glass boot. And we find out that Lindsay has really, really big feet.
Look it, boys! We found Bigfoot!
Wow, Let me see! Let me see!
I feel like I'm trying to jam a T-Rex into a smart car and make him buckle up.
Let me see! I want to see her giant feet!
Anyway, Courtney has trouble fitting the boot as well, but she does manage to get it on, so she is crowned Princess of Total Drama Action.
Hell yeah, that's my girl.
Everyone else plays the role of a knight on a mission to rescue her from a dragon. The first leg of the challenge involves trying to cross a bridge while being thwarted by Jeff dressed as a troll. The campers are forced to wear hats and headgear that blocks their eyesight as well, just to rub salt in the wound. Lindsay and Beth are quickly eliminated, but Justin and Harold both make it past. Duncan succeeds too, but he cheats a little bit so he can see through his costume.
Seeing? Good. Seeing Chef as a transgender troll? Priceless.
What the fuck? I don't know if... okay.
After the first leg, the 3 remaining knights get to see a glimpse of Courtney in a first for the show, a full-on musical number. And I mean, it is just a cartoon song, but Courtney's voice actor, Emily Claire Barlow, actually puts up a really great performance. I suppose it makes sense given that she's a professional singer. And hey, if you want it, it's being sold on CD. Well, at least in the Total Drama universe it is.
My prince will buy me lots of hot dogs. My prince will love ponies too. It's from Lashana. Yo, Harold. If you play that skinny rich girl song and think about me, I'll have to kill you.
During the song, Justin develops feelings for her beyond the whole mentor thing, and swears to save her and be your prince and live happily ever after. He starts taking the whole fantasy challenge really seriously, much to the dismay of Duncan. The two get pretty feisty over it. The next leg of the challenge is a free-for-all battle between the 3 knights and the dragon, who is just the same monster from the first episode. Justin teams up with Harold against Duncan to stop him from killing the dragon, and once they take care of him, Justin quickly betrays Harold. He kills the dragon and climbs to the top to kiss Courtney, but is quickly let know that there is no kissing in this fairy tale. Instead, the two have to sword fight for immunity.
If that's how it has to be.
No. I am a noble gentleman, a brave knight, a handsome prince. I would never hurt a lady. I refuse to raise a sword to Courtney. I give up any chance and immunity to spare her. And now?
Sorry, Justin. I just can't let immunity go. You understand.
Anyway, Justin gets eliminated. I'm not actually sure why. But hey man, he had a good run. At least he talked this season. The next episode is mystery movie themed. Hell yeah! It starts out with the campers eating breakfast like normal until they come across a USB stick in their food. They stick it in Courtney's PDA to see what's on it, and it's a cryptic video from Chris.
I hope you all had a filling breakfast. It was so delish. I was practically on cloud 9. I could have had a dozen of them. But enough about breakfast. It's time to 86 this combination. Conversation.
Every 4th.
Word.
Every 4th.
Word.
Lindsay and Courtney both insist that the video has a secret message in it, but Courtney is a bit ahead, as Lindsay thinks Chris is buried underground or something. The campers quickly make their way to the bank vault to let him out of the safe and get the challenge going.
You guys realize you could have just left him in there, right? He's locked in there and can't run the show until you guys free him. Today's a reward challenge too.
Courtney actually gets really miffed by the fact that she figured out the video so quickly but doesn't get a prize in return.
I mean, I told you guys you could have just left him in there. Serves him right.
But anyway, the campers are given the task of collecting DNA samples from each other for a mystery challenge on the train movie set. I didn't realize this film lot had a working train in it, but okay then. So there's a minute or two long montage of the characters playing tricks on each other to get samples of each other's hair and fingerprints. It's pretty funny, especially seeing Harold try and fail multiple times to get Duncan.
Didn't you already get a set of prints from Lindsay?
Yeah, but it was so much fun. I couldn't help myself.
I like Courtney. Did you know that?
After that bit, the campers gather at night at the train set. Courtney bothers Chris excessively for a prize until he loses it and gives her a bag of knockoff Cheetos to shut her up. Anyway, it seems like the whole fingerprint thing didn't actually matter because everyone got on the train anyway. And soon after everyone boards, the lights shut out and the campers are left alone with Chris's dead body. And some of the campers freak out. Courtney is really quick to poke holes into the whole narrative and cast doubt on whether Chris is actually dead. But Lindsay decides to go total detective, as a means to prove that she isn't totally stupid, I guess. I do kind of like what they did with Lindsay this season. It's nice to see her trying to grow past the whole dumb blonde stereotype, even if it isn't always easy for her. But the remainder of the episode is definitely framed by the back and forth between Courtney and Lindsay, as they both try and solve the mystery. Beth, Lindsay, and Harold especially all start taking stuff really seriously.
Aha!
What is it?
It's one of Duncan's green hairs!
Where's that annoying music coming from?
I do have to say that pretty much everyone is at their best in this episode, except maybe Courtney. Some people might not like how catty she is, but I still enjoy her like this. Initial suspicion is put on Duncan for his green hair, and Courtney makes a good clue reference while the others try to handcuff him. But after her extensive investigation, Lindsay finds out the true murderer.
It was the fat toad on the XS Express! God, that was such a good Paper Mario chapter.
She actually claims it was Courtney because her Cheeto-covered prints were found on a napkin which Lindsay suspects was the murder weapon. Soon after, Chris comes back and surprise, surprise, he wasn't actually dead. Lindsay wins the challenge, and Courtney is not very happy about it.
I guess what Courtney doesn't understand is that a part of a lot of these challenges is playing along with the whole setup. Lindsay took the premise seriously while Courtney was quick to pick holes in it, and that's what made her lose this time.
The reward for winning is a night at the movies with another camper, and Lindsay makes the alpha move of bringing Duncan, literally just as a way of apologizing for handcuffing him, but also as a nice way of pissing Courtney off. And although I love both of these characters, it is actually nice seeing Lindsay take a real dub like this one for once. At the movies, you see Lindsay and Duncan watch Chris on the big screen reciting the badminton line from earlier in the season. Only this time, it seems that he was in a zombie film or something. It's obviously done for laughs, but it makes me wonder what the in-universe explanation for it is. Was it a badminton zombie movie or something and he just didn't mention it? I really have no idea. All in all though, awesome episode. It's really unique among the rest of them. The next episode is about rock and roll movies, which is awesome. The campers will be made to experience the harsh world of being a rock star.
A few things that any certifiable rock god needs to know that I can talk about. You need to know how to rock out on the guitar, work the paparazzi, and trash a hotel room.
Oh, and also how to do insane amounts of drugs and die before you're 30.
Any good rock and roll biopic starts with a kid from humble beginnings, drawn into the seemingly glam world of rock music. After overcoming enormous hardship, the kid gets a break and makes it ginormous. Bigger than me, even. The kid is then drawn into a scandalous world of stuff I'm not allowed to talk about with 16-year-olds.
He's talking about the drugs.
Any questions?
Why is Owen eating my popcorn?
Hey, everybody!
Owen's back. I guess he is just too much fun for the writers to not portray in the show. Chris says that Owen was added back to the show after suing them for booting him due to Courtney's whole legal stuff and also busting his jaw, but that's actually a total lie. He was just hired by Chris to cause drama among the campers on the inside. And I don't know how Chris thought that was a good idea, given that Owen is like the nicest guy on the planet. But I'm not complaining, I love the guy. The first bit of the challenge is essentially a Guitar Hero parody, except the buttons are on the body of the guitar, and if you play a wrong note it shocks you. It's a fun bit, and seeing the campers slowly drop out in creative ways is a good time. The winner ends up being between Duncan and Courtney. While Courtney aggressively plays each button, Duncan just played one of the 5 notes when necessary and breaks his guitar. Chris declares Duncan the winner because Courtney was trying too hard, and she ends up hitting him in the balls, for like the 3rd time in this entire season. After that, our final 6 all have the task of navigating a red carpet and interacting with fake paparazzi. It's a pretty fun bit, especially seeing each camper's personality shine in the environment. Well, some of them shine. Owen, Beth, and Harold certainly aren't as ready for the rock star lifestyle. Lindsay ends up winning for truly handling it like a celebrity, and once again, Courtney does not handle it very well.
I hate losing. So when Lindsay had won, it took all my years of studying transcendental meditation to keep it together.
The last bit for immunity is just a challenge of destroying a hotel room. And, it's certainly not as interesting as the first 2, especially because the writers had to make Courtney win. So she just gets angry and destroys shit more than anyone else and wins invincibility for the 3rd time in a row. Which is a bit boring, but it's not the end of the world. I suppose it's kind of like the situation with Heather where they had to make sure she was constantly winning so she wouldn't be voted out in the first season. Though I think in general this season handles it better. There were so many eliminations in the first season that were so contrived as a means of keeping Heather in the game, but whatever. I guess I will kind of complain how Lindsay got booted in this episode. It's such an anticlimactic way for her to go, especially with the development she's had in this season. She literally voted for herself by accident when meaning to vote for Duncan, which, man, I don't know. She was so great this season that I'd have liked to see her elimination at the very least be a bit more interesting. But it's not a huge deal. The next episode starts out with some exposition about the relationships between the boys and the girls. Courtney is trying to start an alliance with Beth. Meanwhile, Duncan and Harold are having friction like usual. Duncan puts like 3 dozen snails on Harold's bed to mess with him. But in the process, Harold actually finds a snail he likes and keeps it as a pet, even naming it Lashana Jr.
She even looks like Lashana. See? Same soft eyes, same hard shell, same lusciously rounded booty. They could be twins!
The next challenge has to do with, kung fu movies. The cast sans Owen is split into 2 teams based on gender, to live through the elements of a good martial arts film. This includes the brutal training, the edge-of-your-seat action, and the ridiculous misrepresentation of East Asian cultures. Although kung fu is a Chinese martial art, the Eastern elements and imagery in the episode constantly switch between Japanese stuff and Chinese stuff. Even the show itself actually pokes fun at this.
When the beautiful geisha sounds the gong, the match will begin.
Chris, I'm afraid you guys are confusing cultures. Geishas are Japanese, but Kung Fu is Chinese. Gah!
Thank you, Duncan.
The episode past all the slapstick and comedy is very much about the relationships between Duncan and Harold and Beth and Courtney. As I said earlier, Courtney is trying to make a friend out of Beth to get farther in the competition, but Beth's experience with being manipulated by Heather makes her tough to please, and she definitely tries to get as much out of Courtney's fake kindness as she can. Meanwhile, Duncan and Harold for the first time in the show begin to put their differences aside and start to become friends. It's actually an interesting change of pace, though Chris definitely is not big on it and tries to get Owen to cause a rift between the two. And surprisingly, he has a rough time. The 2 work together super well, until Harold starts talking about what he loves about Lashana and Duncan really has a hard time taking it seriously.
Well, they were good friends for like 5 minutes at least. That's gotta be worth something.
Harold wins the reward challenge and gets a nice Eastern meal to enjoy all to himself. At the event, Beth finally invites Courtney to start an official alliance, but it's very vapid, as the 2 are still very wary of each other. Harold is having a good time until he thinks his pet snail asked him to be freed, and obliges to the request. It isn't easy on him, though.
Will Lashana Jr. make it out of here before 2020?
Probably has by now, I'd assume.
I kind of glossed over this episode, and I guess it's just because there's not much of substance to say. It's not bad or anything, but there's almost nothing that really takes place that makes it worth giving you every detail about it. The most unique thing about it, Duncan and Harold's friendship, ends as quickly as it starts. The only essential role it plays in the season as a whole is being the episode in which Beth and Courtney start their alliance. But whatever. The next episode is named 2008, A Space Owen. And I think by the obvious reference you can tell this is going to go over space movies. Even though we've done alien movies before. I guess there's a difference there. Fortunately, the Kubrick reference in the title isn't the only one here. The opening of the episode directly parodies the beginning to A Space Odyssey, which I very much appreciate. Before the challenge takes place, the 5 campers all get a special item from home as a reward for being in the competition as long as they have. Just ignore the fact that Courtney entered the season halfway in and Owen came back like 2 episodes ago. Beth gets a ring pop from her boyfriend Brady, while Owen gets an award for honesty from his school that makes him cry because it reminded him of how he's sabotaging his friends for money. Most interestingly, Duncan gets his pet tarantula, Scruffy, because of course he has a tarantula. The first part of the challenge is spending the night in a zero-gravity environment. The environment is simulated by a fake space shuttle on a roller coaster track. I don't think that would work in the real world. But here, it actually goes well and we get to enjoy a bit of physical comedy and zero gravity from the campers. Also, Beth starts thinking Harold has a crush on her. I'm not totally sure why. I think it's because of the ring pop she has and how it's a symbol of being a kept woman. I don't know. Anyway, the campers are woken up by an asteroid crashing into their shuttle and they have to restart the navigation system to survive. Surprisingly, they figure it out pretty quickly, until Owen breaks open a window and puts a hole in the spacecraft, though he quickly faces the consequences when he is used by the others to plug it.
That was smart, sealing the breach with those 2 pillows.
Chef? Those aren't pillows!
Oh, the breeze tickles!
I'm sorry, man, you brought that upon yourself. That's pretty clearly a fucking ass. Anyway, Courtney and Beth win the zero gravity challenge because they were the ones who had the idea to plug the spacecraft with Owen. As a reward, they get to pick the order the campers go in the next challenge.
I know. Let's you and I go first. That way we can... yeah, we've decided, Chris. The order will be Harold, Owen, Duncan, Beth, and last but not least, me. I'm going last, so I can watch the others try the challenge and fail. That way, I can learn from their mistakes. Mama didn't raise no sucker.
Anyway, the next challenge is lasting as long as possible in a G-Force trainer, otherwise known as the Vomit Comet.
Oh no.
Courtney's decision to go last in the challenge suddenly isn't as wise as she thought it was going to be. Anyway, Harold goes first and right when it starts, he finds out that Duncan's tarantula crawled into the trainer with him, and because of that, the tarantula dies while he and Harold are spinning, but Duncan takes it surprisingly well.
Now maybe Duncan will focus on someone with slightly less hairy legs. Me!
Yeah, I'm pretty broken up, but in a way I'm relieved too. It's not always easy knowing the cute little creature lying next to you at night could suddenly kill you in your sleep. Well, I guess I won't need to sleep with a baseball bat under my pillow anymore.
Owen comes on next and does a bit better than Harold, but still not great. He also farted in the trainer. Things take a seriously bad turn when Duncan gets in, and the spinning and awful smell combined causes him to barf. Jesus Christ, that is gross. And Courtney and Beth are now given a very hard decision. Courtney tries to convince Beth to refuse the challenge with her, but Beth decides to go into the vomit-filled trainer and actually sets the new record and wins immunity.
That wasn't so bad. Once I got past the crippling smell and the squishy feeling between my toes.
You totally reek.
That's just the smell of victory.
Victory smells a lot like vomit.
You made your point, Harold. I'm calling it off with Brady and giving us a try.
What the fuck?
After the challenge, Harold confronts Owen for his suspicious behavior and accuses him of being a traitor. Owen almost admits, but his nervous farts end up grossing Harold out enough for him to back off.
At this point in the show, this shouldn't surprise you.
Anyway, Harold gets voted off after confronting Owen and killing Duncan's pet. But at the very least, we get to end the episode off with a Back to the Future reference.
I don't know if this is intentional or not, but I do really like how the nerdy and less athletic characters like Beth and Harold make it so much farther in this season than they did in Total Drama Island. It's a nice detail.
So some of you who are keeping count might be expecting an Aftermath episode here, given that we're about to talk about the 24th episode, and so far every 6th episode has been one. But, since we're so close to the end, it's a bit different this time. It's just a normal challenge. We start off with Owen waking up alone in the boys' trailer. Duncan soon walks in and explains that he spent the night in Courtney's trailer talking about relationship stuff. He shows Owen a stack of papers he has to memorize about rules and boundaries for his relationship with Courtney. Which, geez, that's, excessive. Like, Courtney, I know you have this whole girl boss thing going on, but like, this might be a bit too much.
Wake up, sleepyheads! Breakfast is served! Along with today's movie challenge. You've got 10 minutes to get your sorry butts down there. Great. Maybe I'll get lucky and today's genre will be Guy in a Coma movie. Dude, what's with the flying rat on your shoulder? That's my new BFFF. Best flying friend forever.
I can't help but notice that Chris's pet parrot here looks exactly like the presumably stuffed parrot from last season's pirate challenge.
That brings us to today's movie genre, the animal buddy flick. You try coming up with 26 movie genres. It was either animal buddy or guy in a coma movies.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Chris, there was the movie crew challenge, which wasn't based on a genre. Also, the Aftermath episodes had no genre, so you only really had to pick like 21 different themes. The first challenge is for the campers to pick an animal and try to make friends with it. The campers have to pick between a raccoon, a chameleon, a bear, and a shark.
I feel like some of these animals would be easier to train than others.
Surprisingly, Courtney goes straight for the shark.
I'll take the chameleon, in tribute to my beloved reptilian friend Scruffy.
Dude, Scruffy was a bug.
Actually, Scruffy was an arachnid. Owen takes the bear due to the obvious similarities they share, and Beth gets the raccoon. I'm honestly shocked that the raccoon is the last choice, given that just intuitively it seems like it would be one of the less dangerous animals here. I guess there is a risk of rabies, but still. Anyway, we get a few minutes of the campers trying to get to know their animal buddies, and there are actually a lot of really funny gags here, especially when Owen starts sabotaging the others. After a bit of time to break the ice, the campers gather around to show how well they've gotten to know the animals. Pretty much everyone did a good job except Courtney, who couldn't even get her shark friend to show up. The next leg of the challenge is being left in the middle of a forest miles away from the film lot and having to find their way back with their animals. It looks pretty much exactly like the Wabanakwa forest, and they probably reused a lot of assets. The challenge doesn't go so well for most of the campers. Duncan's chameleon turns invisible and he thinks it ran away from him. He falls into a booby trap and goes a little crazy. Owen and the bear get caught in one of their own booby traps. Courtney is in the water fighting to the death with the shark and its friends. The only person who makes good time is Beth. During her trip back to the lot, her raccoon leads her into a burrow where it is revealed that raccoons are an intelligent species with an understanding of technology and civilization on par, if not better, than humans.
The two of us work so well together because our friendship is based on mutual respect. Now, what was I saying? Oh, yes, mutual respect. That's the key to any healthy relationship.
Eventually, the others do make it back to the film lot, but it takes a while. When they do, Courtney gets a message on her PDA revealing that Owen was in fact a mole working for Chris. At the elimination, Beth votes for Courtney, Courtney votes for Owen, Owen votes for Duncan, and Duncan accidentally votes for Courtney. Or, I think he does. He looks sleepy and unaware, but he later talks about it as if it were a conscious decision. So I guess he does vote for her intentionally? Whatever.
Court's popularity's in the toilet. I can't have her dragging me down. But the real reason, a 32-page letter. And people call me psycho.
Anyway, Courtney gets eliminated, and right after, Owen gets fired and eliminated as well.
Oh, we're in the final two now. That was anticlimactic.
Still though, this is a really great episode. I do think Courtney's antagonist downfall is a bit underwhelming when compared to Heather's downfall in the previous season, but I also think that Courtney definitely doesn't drive the conflict in this season nearly as much as Heather did in the last one, so having her arc end in a less flashy way makes sense. I'm also mildly frustrated that for the second season in a row, once Duncan and Courtney finally start making a meaningful move together, one of them gets eliminated. As a passionate Duncan and Courtney shipper, it is always frustrating how much the show teases them as a couple compared to how much time they actually spend together in that context. We're being edged. Anyway, Beth and Duncan. Not exactly the final two I think most people were expecting at the time. I think Duncan was seen as a possibility, but Beth was certainly an out of left field choice. And I actually like her as a finalist, to be honest, though I feel like I'm the only guy in the world who has that opinion. Episode 25. Man, we've come a long way. The episode starts with the final two at night talking about their place in the competition. But while they're in their trailers, they are hit with sleeping gas and they wake up tied to the mast of a ship on a pirate movie set. The two untie each other and are greeted by Chef, who for the first time seemingly ever has made them real, edible food. Chris shows up, and interestingly he has a parrot on his shoulder. Well, a stuffed one, like the one in last season, but it looks exactly like the live parrot from the last episode. It's weird.
You're on deck for a swashbuckling obstacle course, followed by a treasure hunt through the entire season's challenges.
By that, he means they have to revisit scenes from previous episodes where they have to redo parts of older challenges. I don't know why they call it a scavenger hunt, to be honest. That's not what it is. Anyway, the first bit of the challenge takes place on the pirate ship and is broken up into a few tasks. Beth and Duncan need to first clean up after a bear and Sasquatch in a bathroom with cotton swabs.
You know, the producers of these challenges have a really weird sense of humor.
While the final two are busy with that, the focus of the show switches to Chris and Chef, and Chris asks about why Chef decided to cook good food.
I get it. The food's laced with laxatives, right? Nice.
Nope. Just going out in style.
Going out? What do you mean?
That's the last meal I'm ever gonna serve on this two-bit show. I got me a gig chefing on a swanky cruise ship.
So does this imply that Chef is actually a competent cook who is just paid to make absolute garbage to torture teenagers? There's an interesting discussion there.
You can't bail. We're a team.
I fly solo. I'm a maverick.
Dude, without this job, you'd still be selling street meat outside the bus station.
Wow. Is Chef really considering leaving the show? That's unfortunate. Duncan finishes cleaning up the poop deck first, but unfortunately for him, the Sasquatch thing comes back for a second round and Beth ends up taking the lead. The next bit of the challenge is climbing up a greasy pole and hanging a flag at the top of the ship. Duncan has a much easier time doing this than Beth, and quickly gets back in first place. He comes to the next part of the challenge, pumping up an air cannon and shooting himself all the way to the main part of the film lot. Chris and Chef continue arguing, and Chef brings up how he dislikes doing all the grunt work for a smug host who gets all the credit. Which, I mean, that's understandable. The two end up deciding to switch places to prove how easy the other person has it, and surprise, surprise, neither of them are actually very great at the other one's job.
Sweet landing, dude. I'm your righteous new host, Chef.
Jesus Christ, he sounds like me when I was making videos in 2014.
The next part of the challenge is going through the film lot and redoing old challenges, but there is one caveat. The campers will also be given a trivia question about their former contestants, and if they get it right, they can skip the challenge. Duncan doesn't turn out to be super knowledgeable about most of the others. The episode then shifts attention to Beth, who notices Chris crying and actually gives him advice on how Chef might just feel unappreciated. She advises that he give him more attention.
This is one thing I really like about the older Total Drama seasons. Chris is obviously a very fucked up sadistic person by our standards, that's part of his charm, but these occasional moments where he shows a little humanity makes him a lot more compelling as a character. Someone really should have told the writers that when they were working on Pocketo Island.
The episode picks up the pace and alternates between Beth and Duncan going through the recap challenges, with Beth getting pretty much all the answers right and Duncan getting all the answers wrong. All of this is done by Chef, and he keeps running back and forth to manage both of the two's progression throughout the challenge. He ends up getting so tired that he asks Beth a bunch of questions and she starts rambling on about stuff she didn't need to while he relaxes. Because of this, Beth wastes several minutes just gossiping about the other campers and falls way behind. Chris comes back to reprimand Chef and the two agree to split up the work for the rest of the challenge, and things start getting much more efficient for everyone. Well, except Duncan, because he keeps having to do all the crazy challenges.
You know, Chris told me he'll miss the heck out of you if you leave.
Really? He said that?
Yeah, he totally did. Wish me luck.
Aw, maybe Chef doesn't hate his job so much after all.
Beth ends up catching up with Duncan and the two are tasked with answering a few questions about Courtney.
Finally! I may not file away everybody's stupid details all the time, but I do know a thing or two about Courtney. Because she insisted.
Perfect! The one person I didn't like enough to learn everything about!
So wait, does Beth like Heather enough to know everything about her but not Courtney? That's a little weird given their relationship last season.
What was Courtney's band's name?
Who cares? She shouldn't have been here in the first place. Launching a lawsuit against the show? That's poor sportsmanship and totally cheating, and it proves Courtney is barely a human being!
Oh, you say that, Beth, but you know what was really cheating? When Harold literally rigged the fucking votes and got Courtney booted off unfairly! Stop the count! They should have stopped the steal! God, I really wish I made that Total Drama Island video after the 2020 election so I could have made that joke.
Courtney's band was the Type A Psychotic Crazies. Later, losers! Hold on, bro. That was Beth's question. Your question. What color is Courtney thinking of? Right now? Are you serious? I don't know, blue?
Burnt sienna! Ugh! He doesn't know anything about me!
I'm inclined to bitch about how that's unfair, but I can't pretend that I don't think that's one of the funniest moments in the entire show.
Anyway, because they both got their questions wrong, the two have to redo the disaster movie challenge. You know, the one that broke Owen's jaw. Ouch. But hey, on the bright side, a lot of the tension between everyone is kind of relieved and Beth and Duncan round out the challenge on good terms. Chris and Chef actually make up as well. The two shoot a fucking safe at the final two, and Duncan begins to slide off the course, but Beth actually catches him right after he falls and pulls him back up. And man, honestly, I don't even know if I'd do that. If there's the opportunity to get $1 million, I might just go to the finish real quick just to secure the victory and come back to make sure the other guy isn't dead or something. The two zip line down and they both see the finish line.
And the winner is...
It's a tie! So yeah, the last episode was kind of the first part of a two-part thing. I guess, sort of. But this is the real finale. Fucking finally. How far are we into this video? Jesus. But anyway, if you're wondering, this is why episode 24 wasn't in Aftermath, because the finale is supposed to be in the Aftermath format.
What do we do now?
Can somebody please tell me there's a plan here?
Nope. But since we're all here together one last time, let's party!
You know, because of that one line, I legitimately thought that this was going to be the official end of Total Drama as a kid. Like, I was sad. I actually didn't know that Total Drama World Tour was a thing until it started like a year or two later.
Anyway, this episode of the show was in-universe supposed to be a fun Aftermath epilogue thing, but because Beth and Duncan tied, Jeff and Bridget now have the dilemma of figuring out how to run the episode with the winner still undecided. Because Chris, like a fucking douchebag if I'm being honest, headed off for vacation as soon as he was off the air. We actually see him and Chef in the airport on their way out of the city. Chris uses his celebrity status to get some bonuses, but his efforts are interrupted when the kids start playing embarrassing footage of him on TV, and he quickly turns around and tries to regain control of the show's finale. But the drive back is long, and he gets stuck in traffic. How are we seeing this again? Like, they don't have a camera crew with them. I guess the episode we see in the real world is a different entity than the episode being shown on live TV in the Total Drama world. Also, I have to admit that I'm mildly bothered by the fact that according to this episode, Total Drama is a show that airs live, when there's a lot of cuts and edits in it that would be impossible to do in real time. It's not a huge deal though. I just feel like I need to point it out. Back on the show, Jeff and Bridget are having a really hard time keeping everyone entertained because they just want everything to be over and done with, including the finalists. They start thinking of challenges to determine the million with, but none of them actually end up working out. They even do a parody of Human Tetris, where Duncan and Beth are tasked to contort their bodies to match carvings in a bunch of walls, some of which are physically impossible. After all that, Chris finally arrives at the set and retakes control of the show, and brings up the actual way the winner will be decided. It's going to be a vote. The ex-contestants all get to ask the finalists a question or give a small challenge to decide whom they want to vote for.
And by ex-contestants, I mean the people who actually competed in Total Drama Action. So people like Noah and Eva don't get to vote or talk or anything, unfortunately.
Trent? As part of Total Drama Action's movie theme, I want to know about your character. Okay, like, let's say your boyfriend was being super nice to you and nothing more, and you for some reason found that odd, and talked to his teammates about voting him out, and then they did that, and...
No. We're not doing this shit again. Fuck that.
Most of the questions are kind of silly, but there are some funny lines thrown around and it's really nice to see the whole cast, well, most of the whole cast, get a chance to talk and banter. Owen gives the two a healthy food eating contest, and strangely enough they already have all the food prepared, but whatever. Lashana asks the finalists what they plan to do with their money.
Ooh, I know! First, I'd take my boyfriend out to a really nice dinner to celebrate, probably Thai food. Then, I'd buy this cute new fuchsia sparkly baton that I've had my eye on for a while. And then, I'd buy a schoolhouse for underprivileged children.
Could have used a little editing, but it's gonna be a tough one to beat. Duncan?
2 schoolhouses for underprivileged children.
After everyone gets their chance to pick the brains of the finalists, well, everyone except Courtney and the season 1 only competitors, they get to vote for whom they want to get the million. Courtney gets inked by a shitty pen that covers her in blue, though it appears to disappear and reappear for the rest of the episode. Chris reads out the toilet paper votes from the pickle jar.
The Season 2 Total Drama winner is... Switchy!
Oh, fuck yeah! I'm a fucking millionaire! I win! This is the Switchy Summer, motherfuckers! Fuck you, Duncan! Fuck you, Beth! I win, you lose, Switchy! Well, actually, I didn't win the $1 million. That would be pretty cool, though. I'm assuming most of you are familiar with this song and dance, but if you're not, Total Drama seasons have alternate endings. So there are 2 versions of this episode, one where Beth wins the million and one where Duncan wins the million. And in different broadcasts of the show around the world, the winner of the season is different. For example, Duncan won the season in the United States and Canada, while Beth won in the United Kingdom and Australia, along with a lot of other places, surprisingly. I would have honestly assumed Duncan would have won in the majority of broadcasts because he seems to be the more popular character, but he doesn't. But yeah, regardless of what ending you get, Brady shows up on the set right after the winner is announced and it's revealed that he actually exists, which essentially means that Beth cheated on him with like 3 fucking guys throughout the season. Kinda scummy. Duncan and Courtney also get back together, though she's a lot more enthusiastic about it in the ending where he's a millionaire.
Oh my god. And I thought my Total Drama Island video was long. Jesus.
I will try, no, whatever I try.
Total Drama Action is a pretty great season, all things considered. I think at its best, it can be sometimes just as biting and lovable as the season that preceded it, but it definitely doesn't quite reach the peaks of Island for me. I mean, the most frustrating thing about it as a whole was definitely the derailment of Trent, and his bullshit really does sour the first few episodes. But he does fortunately leave the show pretty early, and the show moves on to better conflicts later on. The villain, or lack thereof, certainly makes this season a lot less dramatic. The general consensus is that Justin is the villain for the first half and Courtney becomes the villain when she comes on, but I don't even really know if that's true or intended. Maybe more so for Courtney. But the show was never centered around either of their shenanigans as it was around Heather. Heather was definitely the engine for Island, and neither of our antagonists here served the same purpose. It's not like Courtney was playing the role of a master manipulator. She was just kind of unlikable to the others and really motivated to win. She is about as villainous as, like, Joe is in season 4. This is probably why they introduced Alejandro in the following season. I still like Courtney here, but not in the same way or for the same reasons as I like Heather in season 1. I think one problem with the season here is the choice of cast. To better explain, here's a visual aid. Here are the characters in order of elimination in Total Drama Island. And here are the ones who came back as contestants in Total Drama Action. There's a lot of characters that are really left in the dust in this season, and some of them don't even have any speaking parts. The one exception here is obviously Justin, who goes from a total filler character to a major player, which is really nice. I definitely think that World Tour did a much better job at picking a more diverse set of characters for the competition and expanding on their personalities. I also hear people say that they dislike how many times characters were re-added back to the show, but honestly, I kind of like that. It gives a lot more characters more room to shine. Even the characters who were eliminated first in this season still play a major and significant role, all things considered, and that's not something you can say about Total Drama Island. This also transitions well to the whole point that, like, half of the whole season is non-elimination challenges, and how that's definitely a double-edged sword. There's a lot of episodes where no significant changes to the cast take place, and sometimes it can feel like it's dragging. But then again, this also gives everyone in the main cast a lot more time on camera, and it gives them all more time to establish interesting character arcs without being thrown off too early. So it's not a big deal for me. I guess I should clarify that even with this season feeling a bit slow at times, I vastly prefer the 26 episode format for 14 campers than the 13 episode format that they began using later on. Vastly. Monumentally. So I shouldn't be biting the hand more than I need to. I will say though that the season is definitely a bit too paint by numbers sometimes. That's tangentially related to the whole reward challenge thing, but yeah. I think Island had the benefit of being a new thing where they still hadn't completely found their footing in how they wrote the show, but in Action they had figured out a decent mold that they started getting comfortable in, and in my opinion, it was a bit too comfortable. But these are all relatively minor complaints. The show as a whole is still great here, and it definitely does improve in a lot of ways, especially with the art and sound design. It's definitely mixed a lot better here. The film lot is a really nice setting and honestly really pretty. There's a lot more color in this environment when compared to the constant browns of Camp Wawanakwa. I sort of weirdly associate this season with how colorful it is because of that, I think. Feel free to check out my Total Drama Action tier list video for more in-depth discussion about the individual campers and how I like them throughout the season.
Thanks for watching, and I really do mean it when I say that. The sudden success of the Island video really was a blessing, and being able to make weird stuff like this for an audience who's actually interested is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I'm so grateful for. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you like this. It would actually really mean a lot. I'll see you guys around.
Hi Kyle, this is a little test.